Chapter 866. The land of the wild 42 regions began to tremble, and the roars of ancient beasts could be heard everywhere. The boorish wasteland was the ancient battlefield of the divine demon realm. It was rumored that every time an ancient immortal unleashed all his killing intent here, such a phenomenon would occur. In the god race's 5 regions, countless cultivators from the 4 heavens looked towards the north, shock in their eyes. They knew that the one who had caused this wild phenomenon was the monster race's immortal sovereign, old ancestor Poisonous Dragon. They didn't understand why Patriarch Poison Dragon's 7 arrows had caused the snow phenomenon to collapse. They didn't understand why Patriarch Poison Dragon would be so angry, or why he would erupt with such terrifying killing intent that caused the entire wilderness to tremble. In the sky above the heaven capital barbarian domain, the 2 immortal venerables, Miao Yan and Lu He, had already gathered. Their gazes were solemn. They knew a little more than ordinary people. They knew that Ning Fan was not killed by the 7 Arrows book. However, they did not know why old ancestor Poisonous Dragon would erupt with such a strong killing intent. The 2 of them did not know about Ning Fan destroying the 7 arrows and seizing the ancestral bow. Du Longzi has unleashed such a terrifying killing intent towards the southern territory. It seems like we can't avoid this confrontation. Is it because the 7 Arrow book can't kill that mysterious Shi Kong, so he wants to do it himself? I can't stop him from using the 7 Arrow book to kill people, but I can't just watch him commit murder in the 5 regions of the god race. Gaochen Barbaric Domain, right? Does fellow Taoist Lu He want to go with us? Miao Yan giggled. Of course we have to go. We're under the orders of the Dark Sea sect to guard the 5 regions, so we naturally can't sit idly by and do nothing about what happened today. The 6 combination Celestial Supremacy's eyes were solemn. He was slightly interested in the mysterious Shi Kong that survived 7 arrows. If I go to the Gaochen Barbaric region, I should be able to see the mysterious Shi Kong with my own eyes. The 2 immortal venerables rushed to the North Star Barbaric domain at the same time. 20 breaths later, they arrived at the wasteland of bones where Ning Fan was fighting against the 7 arrows. They spread out their spirit sense and it almost covered the entire North Star Barbaric domain. Unfortunately, the 2 of them were still a step too late when they arrived at this place. Ning Fan was nowhere to be found. During these 20 breaths of time, Ning Fan had already returned to the Milan city with his golden light and brought Lu Yan and the immortal Loli away from the North Star Barbaric domain. Dozens of breaths later, Du Longzi, whose face was filled with killing intent, also rushed to the skeleton wasteland. When he saw that there were only 2 immortal venerables of the human race waiting for him and Ning Fan was nowhere to be seen, Du Longzi's expression immediately turned extremely ugly. Along the way, Du Longzi constantly used the reverse spirit technique in an attempt to sense the chi of the ancestral bow and locate Ning Fan's location. However, he realized that he could not do it at all. The ancestral bow was actually sealed by a layer of demonic spiritual energy, blocking his inverse spirit art perception. Damn it! I rushed to the southern territory for the 2nd time to capture this child, but I still couldn't catch him. He ran away again. No! This child cannot be allowed to live. The ancestral bow and arrow spirit must be retrieved as well. Even if I have to risk my demon's soul being heavily injured, this old man will still find this kid in the wilderness today. Ignoring the 2 human immortal venerables not far away, Patriarch Poison Dragon formed a hand seal in anger, and a demonic shadow flew out of his body. The demonic shadow swayed, from 1 to 2, 2 to 4. In an instant, it had split into hundreds of demonic shadows. Every demon shadow was at the early stage of Shishuang Kong. Soul-shattering art. Du Longzi even used this technique. He actually did not hesitate to injure his demon's soul to kill that Wuming Shishuang Kong. The 2 human immortal venerables immediately revealed a look of shock. They really wanted to know what Ning Fan had done to make old ancestor Poison Dragon want to kill him even at the cost of damaging his own Dao realm. As soon as the hundreds of demonic shadows appeared, they immediately flew in different directions. Unfortunately, before they could fly far, heaven and earth suddenly froze and formed a barrier, preventing all the demonic shadows from flying out. Hee hee. Are you trying to find that cultivator's whereabouts with these demonic shadows? I won't allow you to harm him. It was Venerable Miao Yen who raised his hand and sealed the heaven and earth of this place. Venerable Six Unity took out a black jade seal. That jade seal was his Dao weapon. The jade seal grew in the wind and turned into a gigantic seal that blotted out the sky. Suddenly, it fell towards the wilderness, causing the ground to sink 10 zhang. Old Ancestor Poison Dragon's face was filled with shock and anger. His figure flashed and he evaded the attack of the jade seal. However, the hundreds of demonic shadows that he created were all smashed into meat paste by the jade seal. Miao Yen, Six Unity. I must kill that person today. If the two of you stop me, I will make you pay the price even if I have to risk everything. Old Ancestor Poison Dragon let out a furious roar filled with reluctance. If it wasn't for Miao Yen and Six Unity's obstruction, he would certainly be able to find Ning Fan's whereabouts and kill him. Unfortunately, the two of them insisted on stopping him. Could it be that they wanted him to give up on chasing after him? Could they allow Ning Fan to take away the ancestral bow and the arrow spirit? No. He was unwilling to give up. Hee hee. I really want to see what kind of price you can make us pay. Venerable Miao Yen giggled and flew forward to fight against Old Ancestor Poison Dragon. The Six Unity Immortal Venerable's expression was slightly hesitant. However, seeing that Miao Yen had already made her move, he also joined the battle. There was no suspense in this battle. Old Ancestor Poison Dragon was naturally not a match for two Immortal Venerables. Even if he was at his peak, he would not be able to fight against two Immortal Venerables at the same time. Moreover, the current him was not at his peak. First, he was devoured by the arrow spirit. Then, he was injured by Ning Fan's roar. After that, he damaged his own demon soul and used the soul-shattering technique, but it did not work. The battle lasted for half a day. Only then did it come to an end. The two venerables, Miao Yen and Six Unity, suffered some minor injuries. As for Old Ancestor Poison Dragon, he was severely injured. With no other choice, he temporarily fled back to the Northern Territory. I'm not willing to accept this. That ghost-faced brat. How hateful. How hateful. Give the order. Quickly give the order. I want to place a bounty on this ghost-faced brat in the name of the True Dragon Clan. Anyone who kills him will be rewarded with a semi-finished embryonic emperor pill. Be it the demon cultivators of the desolate lands or the inner world, as long as they can kill this brat, they will all be rewarded. Old Ancestor Poison Dragon's order spread across the entire desolate lands and even to the demon spirit land. Anyone who heard the order could see that Old Ancestor Poison Dragon was truly enraged. The True Dragon Clan was truly enraged. The 9 revolution pills were divided into 4 grades: lead, silver, gold and emperor. Lead pills and silver pills were not rare pills. Gold pills, however, were extremely precious. As for emperor pills, they were almost peerless treasures that were rarely seen in the world. Even a semi-finished emperor pill was enough to drive countless ancient old monsters crazy. This time, Old Ancestor Poison Dragon represented the True Dragon Clan and secretly placed a bounty on Ning Fan's head with an embryonic emperor pill as the reward. His action directly made some experts of the demon race in the demon spirit land secretly come to the desolate lands. They wanted to find Ning Fan and kill him in exchange for the generous reward of the emperor pill. Old Ancestor Poison Dragon had issued a ban on the matter of the ancestral bow being snatched. Other than the True Dragon Clan, only a few people knew about it. With Miao Yen and Six Unity's abilities, they naturally had their own channels to find out the ins and outs of the matter. When they found out that Ning Fan was not only not killed by the 7 Arrows book but also destroyed the 7 arrows and snatched the ancestral bow of the True Dragon Clan, the two venerables were shocked speechless. Hee hee. No wonder Poison Dragon was so furious. It's fine that the 7 Arrows book was destroyed, but even the Candle Bow spirit. Hee hee. What an interesting little fellow. I really want to meet him. Unfortunately, even with my abilities, I can't find out his current whereabouts. Venerables Miao Yen smiled with a hint of regret. The candle bow's spirit, huh? To the true dragon clan, this bow holds a great significance. This bow has a spirit. Even ordinary venerables can't restrain this bow and snatch it. That junior actually snatched this bow. 6 Unity Immortal Venerables wore a solemn expression. Even with his conceited personality, he could not help but admire the means of that mysterious junior. However, I heard that junior released the demon aura of the Fuli clan that day and suppressed countless demon cultivators in the northern region. Moreover, that aura was the aura of the ancestral blood. I wonder if it's true or not. No, this news should be fake. Occasionally, some devil cultivators would be bestowed with an immortal position by chance. However, it's impossible for a demon cultivator to obtain the recognition of an immortal position at the end of the world. This junior's immortal position can't be faked. Since he has an immortal position, he's a human cultivator no matter what. He can't be a demon cultivator. The ancestral blood and demon aura that he released should be unleashed by borrowing the power of an external object. He can't be a demon cultivator himself. Demon cultivators kept sneaking into the 5 regions of the god race and searching the entire desolate lands, trying to find the whereabouts of that ghost-faced cultivator and kill him. However, none of the demons could find the whereabouts of that ghost-profound realm cultivator and kill him for the reward. It was obvious that Ning Fan was still in the desolate lands before the realm gate would appear in 10 years. However, no one could find his hiding place. Ning Fan was still in the desolate lands. After that battle, he kept the ghost-faced cultivator and brought Lu Yen and Immortal Loli to the unconquered barbarian regions. He did not stay in the 5 regions of the god race. He no longer had the appearance of a silver-haired ghost-faced cultivator. Instead, he roamed the unconquered barbarian regions with the identity of a barbarian. After all, he was not a match for old ancestor Poisonous Dragon. Even if he ignited his ancestral blood, he could only cause insignificant injuries to old ancestor Poisonous Dragon. Sacrificing a drop of ancestral blood to block the arrow light of the ancestral bow was a huge price to pay. However, Ning Fan did not regret it. The reason why he cultivated the Dao was to protect the warmth behind his back. If he could not protect it, what was the use of having ancestral blood? Even though he had sacrificed a drop of ancestral blood, his gains were also quite substantial. In this battle, Ning Fan had obtained the Bao spirit of the ancestral Bao and 7 7-colored arrow spirits. In the unconquered barbarian region, there was a barbarian city called Bianliang in the 8th region. On the official road 20 li away from Bianliang City, more than 10 carriages were cautiously moving towards the city. The people who were riding on these carriages were barbarians without any cultivation base. They had just fled from another barbarian city to Bianliang City with their entire families. One of the carriages was decorated lavishly with gold and silver carvings. The owner of the carriages was sitting on it while the other carriages were occupied by servants and guards. The owner of the carriages was called Zhao Boyang. He was nearly 30 years old and was a great scholar in Xiufu City. 3 days ago, the barbarian statue of Xiufu City was destroyed and the entire city was massacred by the wild beasts. Only a few people managed to escape alive. The Zhao family was considered lucky as they managed to escape. At this moment, Zhao Boyang sighed continuously while comforting a young woman who had a sorrowful expression. She was his wife. In her arms was a sleeping baby who was smiling sweetly. He was already half a year old. My condolences, my wife. Zhao Boyang held his wife's hand and let out a long sigh without saying a word. As a barbarian, one must be prepared to die at any time. After comforting the beautiful woman, Zhao Boyang walked out of the carriage. He lowered his voice and asked the guard who was driving the carriage. Zhao San, how far are we from Bianliang City? Master, we are on the official road. We will arrive in about 20 li, the burly man named Zhao San answered in a low voice. He did not dare to raise his voice. No one dared to speak loudly outside the barbarian city. Once they attracted the attacks of the wild beasts, the consequences would be unimaginable. 20 li. Another 20 li and we will be safe. Another 20 li. Sigh, if we have the barbarian god Jade Pendant, we don't need to be so cautious. Zhao Boyang's heart was filled with anxiety. To be exact, all the people on the carriage were nervous. Xiufu City was destroyed and they were the only survivors. If they could reach Bianliang City, they would be considered to have survived. If they were attacked by the wild beasts before entering the city, surviving would be an extravagant hope. Don't worry, master. I have traveled back and forth between Xiufu and Bianliang City several times. Based on my experience, we will be safe once we reach the official road. There won't be any more attacks from the wild beasts. Just as Xiao Sen finished his confident words, a beast's roar suddenly came from the forest beside the official road. The beast's roar was hoarse like the cry of a resentful infant. When it entered everyone's ears, their faces immediately turned pale. Barbarian. Wild beast. We are doomed. We are doomed. Startled by the beast's roar, the horses of the carriages trembled and stopped running. They crouched on the ground and shivered. In the next moment, a strange beast that was 1,000 feet long suddenly flew out from the forest. It was completely black and had a pair of wings. Its eyes were staring at the carriages and saliva flowed out of its mouth, emitting a rancid smell. Dong! 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 The wild beast crawled towards the carriages step by step. Its heavy footsteps caused the earth and rocks on the official road to collapse. The road to Bianliang City was blocked by the wild beast. The horses that were pulling the carriages were unable to move forward due to fear. One by one, the panicked servants and guards jumped off the carriage and fled in all directions, abandoning their masters. Only a dozen guards were unwilling to abandon their masters even though they were fearful of the wild beast. Even though Zhao Boyang was a great scholar, he couldn't help but reveal a shocked expression at this moment. His wife was just an ordinary woman. At this moment, her face had already turned pale from fright. The baby was also awakened by the beast's roar and started crying. Zhao 5th. Zhao 7th. The two of you are responsible for protecting Master, Madam and young Miss. Leave now. The rest of you, follow me to block the wild beast. Zhao San bellowed. He drew his saber and leaped off the carriage. Leading a group of people, he charged towards the wild beast in an attempt to buy time for his master's family to escape. Under the support of two guards, Zhao Boyang and his family got off the carriage. Just as they were about to escape, their expressions suddenly changed. On the official road behind them, there were also several wild beasts scuttling out. Most of the servants who abandoned their masters to escape had already died in the mouths of the wild beasts. Their limbs were scattered all over the ground. As for Zhao San and the other guards who were fighting with the wild beast, 3 of them were eaten by the wild beast in just a single move. My life is over. Zhao Boyang sighed with his eyes closed. His expression was bitter. As a great scholar, he understood the relationship between the heavens and earth and was indifferent to life and death. However, his wife and daughter were here as well. He couldn't bear to watch his wife and daughter die in the mouths of the wild beasts. Zhao San and the other guards' faces were pale as well. With a pincer attack from both the front and the back, it was impossible for mortals like them to escape death. This old man's life is going to end here today. Just when everyone was in despair, an indifferent voice of a young man suddenly sounded. Stand down. It was a very calm tone without any arrogance, but in the ears of the wild beasts, it sounded like an order that couldn't be disobeyed. The wild beasts who were busy eating the humans suddenly revealed a look of terror. They looked at the person who spoke and trembled. On the official road far away, a white-robed young man with an otherworldly temperament was walking slowly. Beside him was a delicate woman and a silver-haired little girl with red lips and white teeth. The person who spoke was the white-robed young man. As the white-robed young man walked step by step, the wild beasts in the area felt a pressure as heavy as a mountain. They wailed a few times and started to flee. The white-robed young man looked at the escaping wild beasts and didn't attack them. He muttered to himself. A harmonious spirit wild beast. With my current blood tribulation aura, I only need to intimidate them to scare them away. This white-robed young man was naturally Ning Fan. With the powerful demon spirit force, Ning Fan was able to shield himself from all senses and walked in the ancient savage domain like a mortal. His goal was to follow the official road to the nearby barbarian city and cultivate there. He didn't fly because he wanted to comprehend the way mortals traveled. The wild beasts are gone. They didn't eat us. What happened? Where did this man come from? He could scare the wild beasts away with just a word. Only 11 people managed to keep their lives. They were Zhao Boyang's family of 3 and 8 loyal bodyguards. The rest were all dead. Everyone was glad that they survived the disaster, but they were more puzzled. Wild beasts were ferocious and fearless. They had low intelligence, but why would they listen to the white-robed young man's order? This was something they couldn't understand. Zhao Boyang was knowledgeable. He had read a lot of books, so he knew a lot. Legend has it that there was a great scholar in ancient times who cultivated righteousness and could scare off evil beasts with just a word. Could this white-robed young man be one of those peerless scholars? I'm Zhao Boyang from Xiufu. Thank you for saving my life. May I know your name? Ning Fan. Is young Master Ning heading to Bianliang? Yes. I don't know how to repay young Master for saving my life. I sincerely hope that young Master can travel with us. We can use a carriage to express our gratitude. Zhao Boyang made this request. Firstly, he wanted to thank Ning Fan for saving his life. Considering that Ning Fan's journey was tough, he wanted to send him off with a carriage. Secondly, he wanted to borrow Ning Fan's righteousness to deter the wild beasts and ensure their safety. Ning Fan naturally knew what Zhao Boyang was thinking, but he didn't point it out. He smiled and nodded. Zhao Boyang invited him into the most luxurious carriage. Almost all the servants in the caravan were dead or injured. The guards of the Zhao family packed up their luggage, leaving only 4 carriages behind, and continued their journey to Bianliang. The 8 guards knew that it was Ning Fan who scared the wild beasts away. Although they didn't know why, they were very grateful and respectful towards Ning Fan. Immortal Loli had eaten too many lightning fragments. She was sleeping soundly in the carriage while leaning on Lu Yan. Lu Yan's beautiful eyes were fixed on Ning Fan. Her eyes were sparkling from time to time. This was her first time seeing Ning Fan's face and hearing his name. So Senior is the famous Rain Immortal Monarch of the Eastern Heaven. Ning Fan sat in the carriage and occasionally chatted with Zhao Boyang. Most of the time, he hid his hands in his sleeves and secretly condensed fire elemental crystals. The guards who fought against the wild beasts risked their lives and erupted with extremely strong battle intent. Ning Fan collected that battle intent and condensed it bit by bit into a high-grade fire elemental crystal. The power of the battle intent it contained was tens of times stronger than a supreme-grade battle crystal. If Ning Fan hadn't mastered the 3rd transformation of his battle arts, he wouldn't be able to condense the battle intent of mortals into crystals. As the number of his natal battle flames increased, the current him was able to achieve this. Interesting. In the past few days, I've visited all the places with strong battle intent in the desolate wilderness, but none of them could condense a high-grade fire elemental crystal. The battle intent in this place isn't strong, but the battle intent of mortals who fought to the death is much stronger than some ancient battlefields. It actually helped me condense a high-grade fire elemental crystal. If I use this method to gather the battle intent of mortals and condense them into high-grade fire elemental crystals, I believe the speed of mastering the 4th transformation will be very fast. The battle intent he gathered from the guards had already been used up. After that, he wouldn't be able to condense a high-grade fire elemental crystal with the sparse battle intent in this place. With a thought, Ning Fan kept the high-grade fire elemental crystal into his storage pouch. He could not help but look forward to his trip to Bianliang City. Bianliang was one of the few prosperous barbarian cities in the 8th district. Even though this city was protected by the barbaric statue, it was often attacked by wild beasts. People often died in the mouths of wild beasts. Mortals were afraid of wild beasts and that fear went deep into their bones. The more fearful they were, the stronger their battle intent would be when they fought the wild beasts to the death. If he gathered the battle intent of those mortals who were fearless of death and condensed them into high-grade fire elemental crystals, he would be able to master the fourth transformation of his battle arts even faster. The fourth transformation isn't far away. Perhaps, I can also transform into a mortal in this barbarian city. Ning Fan pondered. Suddenly, a cry interrupted Ning Fan's thoughts. It was Zhao Boyang's half-year-old daughter who was crying. The reason for her crying was because the barbaric poison was acting up. There was a bruise on one side of the child's face. That was the place where the barbaric poison was poisoned. I'm sorry to disturb you. When my daughter was born, there were wild beasts attacking Xiufu City. Although the wild beasts didn't invade the city, they left behind quite a lot of barbaric poison. My daughter unfortunately inhaled some of it. Every day, my daughter would be corroded by the barbaric poison for a few hours. That's why she would cry. Zhao Boyang heaved a long sigh. His eyes were filled with sorrow and helplessness when he looked at his daughter. Even if an adult was poisoned by the barbaric poison, only a few of them could endure the pain of it. His daughter had to bear the pain brought by the barbaric poison the moment she was born. As a father, he was powerless. There were only a few people who knew how to treat the barbaric poison. At this moment, he was neither a great scholar nor the old master of the Zhao clan. He was just a powerless father. Madame Zhao's tears flowed down her cheeks when she saw her daughter suffering. She wished that she could take her daughter's place to suffer. Ning Fan's gaze gradually became distant. Amidst his panic, he thought of his parents, especially his mother who had sacrificed her demon blood for him. Let me hug her. Ning Fan smiled faintly. Under the puzzled gaze of Zhao Boyang and his wife, he took the little girl and held her in his arms. The power of the calamity blood in his body moved and the barbaric poison in the little girl's body was immediately eliminated. Once the pain was gone, the little girl naturally stopped crying. She couldn't speak yet. She just curled up in Ning Fan's arms, sucking on her fingers and staring at Ning Fan with her black eyes without blinking. The bruises on her chubby face were no longer there. Hiss. The barbaric poison is gone. This. Zhao Boyang sucked in a breath of cold air and stared at his daughter's face in disbelief. Unbelievable. Ning Fan just hugged the little girl and the barbaric poison in her body was gone. Could this be the righteous qi that was recorded in the ancient records? The barbaric poison and evil spirits were all gone. Young Master Ning, I'm very grateful for your help. Zhao Boyang cupped his fists and said solemnly. It's just a small matter. I just hope that old Master Zhao won't tell everyone about my ability when we reach Bianliang. Ning Fan said with a smile. I won't. I'll definitely keep my mouth shut about this. This little girl is very cute. What's her name? Zhao Dai. This name was given by my wife. Zhao Boyang's expression was slightly awkward. He was a dignified Confucian scholar, yet his daughter's name was given so casually. He was afraid that Ning Fan, who was also a Confucian scholar, would tease him and look down on him. Oh. Zhao Dai. This name seems to be fated with me. Ning Fan smiled faintly and returned the little girl to Madame Zhao's arms. He no longer paid attention to her. The journey of 20 li was completed in 2 hours. Ning Fan brought the two ladies down from the carriage. After bidding farewell to Zhao Boyang, they entered Bianliang city alone. When the guards of the city saw Ning Fan and his group coming from the official road outside the city, they were stunned. Ning Fan and his group did not wear the barbarian god jade pendant on their necks. They just casually walked into the city from outside. Are they people who are fleeing from the disaster? They didn't manage to get the barbarian god jade pendant in time. Without the barbarian god jade pendant, they actually didn't get eaten by the wild beasts outside the city. They are really lucky. Some of the guards discussed softly. Bianliang city was extremely prosperous. After entering the city, both sides of the long street were filled with shops and restaurants. Along the way, they arrived at the Bian River. Both sides of the river were filled with plum trees. There were many empty mansions for sale. Zhao Boyang gave him some money and Ning Fan did not reject it. Ning Fan bought a mansion as his temporary residence. Lu Yen stayed at home to nourish the star plate while the immortal Loli was sleeping soundly in her room. Ning Fan walked out of the courtyard and walked to the side of the Bian River. He looked at the plum trees on both sides of the river and smiled faintly. It was still summer in Bianliang City. Naturally, there were no plum blossoms on the plum trees. There was only a single green leaf. However, if winter comes, there would be countless plum blossoms blooming on both sides of the river. Cultivating the war god art and mortal transcending truth will take up a lot of time. I think I will still be staying in this city for a long time. These plum blossoms are very good. It reminds me of 7 Apricot City and gives me a sense of home. Ning Fan looked at the plum trees on both sides of the river with a smile that reached the bottom of his eyes. Inadvertently, a trace of true illusion force flashed across Ning Fan's body. On the Bian River, a gaily painted boat passed by. A white-haired old man was standing at the bow of the boat. He was holding a gourd in his hand and drinking wine in big gulps. When he saw Ning Fan looking at the plum blossoms and smiling, the old man was stunned at first and then burst into laughter. Awesome! Awesome! Smiling before seeing the plum blossoms, the Tao is already in your heart. You are the same as me. Both of you are people who really know how to appreciate plum blossoms. In the eyes of ordinary people, the most beautiful part of plum blossoms is when it blossoms, lofty and unyielding. However, they have forgotten that without the accumulation of energy in spring, summer and autumn, how can the plum blossoms have the power to bloom in a single season? The accumulation of energy in 3 seasons is only for the bloom in a single season. This is the destiny of us cultivators. Accumulating energy is the key to blossom. Upon hearing this, Ning Fan's eyes suddenly turned cold and looked at the old man on the gaily painted boat. If he was not mistaken, that old man was actually a peak-shedding void realm cultivator. I come from the northern heaven. My Dao title is Kei Shensi. May I know your name? Are you willing to come to this gaily painted boat and discuss the Dao with me? With Kei Shensi's eyesight, he could naturally tell that Ning Fan was a cultivator. Judging from the trace of illusory true force that Ning Fan had inadvertently released, Ning Fan should still be on the path of comprehending the truth. Thinking of this, Kei Shensi didn't mind telling Ning Fan his Dao title to form a good relationship with him and give him some pointers. Ning Fan's eyes changed again. Kei Shensi, this name sounds familiar. That's right, he's the old ancestor of Sinister Sparrow sect of Yu country. He's the almighty cultivator who left behind the comprehension of rain in the dark sparrow's grave. He had never thought that he would meet Kei Shensi in such a place. However, it seemed like Kei Shensi didn't know his identity. Ning Fan thought for a while and understood the reason. Although his identity was widely known in the eastern heaven, it might not necessarily be known in the northern heaven. It wasn't strange that Kei Shensi didn't know him. If it wasn't for the comprehension of rain left by Kei Shensi in the dark sparrow's grave, Ning Fan might not be who he was today. Towards Kei Shensi, Ning Fan felt 30% gratitude, 20% curiosity, and 50% vigilance. In any case, it was necessary to be vigilant when encountering a strange cultivator who was also a powerful old monster. Junior Ning Fan greets Senior Kei Shensi. I'm willing to go on a boat and discuss the Tao with Senior. Ning Fan's figure flashed and directly appeared on the gaily painted boat. The few men who were rowing the boat rubbed their eyes in disbelief. After a while, they exclaimed. Hiss! This junior has such a powerful movement technique. That's right. In the eyes of mortals, the movement technique that Ning Fan used to fly on the gaily painted boat was a movement technique. Ning Fan? That's a good name. Everything is Tao and Ning is obsession. There's a deep seed of obsession in Little Friend's Tao sense. I think Little Friend's Tao is the Tao of obsession. Am I mistaken? Kei Shensi said with a faint smile. His eyes flashed with green light. He wasn't an ancient immortal venerable. His cultivation base might not be high in the northern heaven, but the green light in his eyes was clearly the green light of the unity of heaven and man. He could see through the essence of Ning Fan's Tao with just a glance. Ning Fan's expression remained unchanged, but his heart was secretly shocked. He nodded and didn't say anything, acknowledging Kei Shenxi's words. The Tao of Obsession. This is my first time seeing a cultivator who cultivates this Tao. I'm afraid that it will be a mental torture. If little friend can't get rid of the obsession in your heart, you won't be able to cross the true bridge even if you spend your entire life. If you get rid of the obsession, your Tao will collapse and your heart will be destroyed. Then, you won't be able to cross the true bridge in the end. The difficulty of little friend crossing the true bridge isn't small. As for void abandonment and thought fragmentation realm, AI. Kei Shenxi sighed. This old man will give little friend a piece of advice. Don't cross the true bridge in your life. Otherwise, your life will be in danger. Remember, remember. Chapter 867. This life is unredeemable. What if I insist on it? Ning Fan's eyes were calm and unwavering. He was very grateful for Kei Shenxi's advice, but Kei Shenxi's words couldn't affect his Tao heart. Kei Shenxi was startled for a moment, then burst into laughter and tossed the gourd to Ning Fan. You're indeed a Tao persistence cultivator. Since you insist on truth crossing, I naturally won't stop you. Meeting each other is fate. This wine is brewed from the Tao-seeking fruit. I'll give it to you. Ning Fan received the gourd and scanned the spiritual wine with his spirit sense. His expression changed immediately. The Tao-seeking fruit was a spiritual fruit that could increase one's probability of truth crossing. It was said that it only grew in the savage ancient domain. The value of a Tao-seeking fruit was not lower than the truth-crossing Tao fruit. This wine contained at least the energy of dozens of Tao-seeking fruits. Thank you for the wine, Senior. It's impolite not to reciprocate. Please accept this. Ning Fan kept the wine gourd and took out a Tao fruit, giving it to Kei Shenxi. Kei Shenxi's eyes were calm at first, but his expression changed when he saw the Tao fruit. It's the void-shedding Tao fruit. Kei Shenxi had never expected that a true fate immortal would have a void-shedding Tao fruit. After giving Ning Fan a deep look, Kei Shenxi realized that he had underestimated Ning Fan from the beginning. The value of a void-shedding Tao fruit was much higher than those spiritual wines. Ning Fan returned the Tao fruit because he didn't want to accept someone's kindness for free. This was Ning Fan's insistence. This kid has a good temperament. The fact that he dared to give the Tao fruit to me without being afraid of my void-shedding Tao fruit showed that he had full confidence in himself and his cultivation base was at the peak of void-shedding Tao fruit. It seems like this kid has hidden his strength well. When the boatmen saw Ning Fan take out a strange fruit like a magic trick, they were so shocked that they couldn't close their mouths. They had no idea where Ning Fan got this fruit from. Senior doesn't seem to be far from the thought fragmentation realm. I hope this Tao fruit can provide some help for Senior's breakthrough. Ning Fan smiled meaningfully. Kei Shenxi's heart was slightly shaken. He looked at Ning Fan in disbelief, as if he was looking at a monster. He didn't tell anyone that he was about to break through the thought fragmentation realm. Even the old monster breaking Tao old monster couldn't see through his cultivation base. However, Ning Fan did. The power of the unity of heaven and man in his body suddenly trembled a little, as if it had sensed something from Ning Fan. Kei Shenxi immediately opened his mouth wide. He finally understood why Ning Fan's eyesight was so sharp. I see. It turns out that my little friend is also. I'm ashamed. The younger generation will surpass us in time, truly surpass us in time. After Kei Shenxi sighed, his expression suddenly turned solemn as he asked, Are you a member of the secret race? From Kei Shenxi's point of view, only the 10 great secret clans had a small possibility of cultivating a Gue Xian who had attained the unity of heaven and man. No. That's good. There's a great opportunity in the hands of the barbarian demon clan. Little friend, are you interested in joining me to seize this opportunity? Kei Shenxi looked at Ning Fan with sincerity, as if he was looking at a peer. Opportunity? What kind of opportunity? Ning Fan's eyelids twitched slightly. A tree that hasn't blossomed yet, it will surely blossom in a few decades. After the flower blooms, it will turn into ashes. That flower is a great opportunity. Those who aren't cultivators who have attained the unity of heaven and man can't consume this flower, or they will die for sure. Cultivators who have already opened the first gate of the heavenly being realm will have a slight chance of opening the second gate if they consume this flower. Kei Shensi said with fiery eyes. Is that so? Ning Fan's heart was slightly shocked, but he didn't show any of it on his face. It was Ning Fan's first time hearing about a flower that could increase the chance of opening the second gate of the heavenly being realm. If it was really as mysterious as what Kei Shensi said, it would be a great opportunity, but since the flower is in the hands of the barbarian demon clan, it will be very dangerous to seize it. I've only just met Kei Shensi, but he invited me to seize this opportunity. Naturally, he isn't interested in my cultivation base, but my unity of heaven and man. In other words, it's impossible for a cultivator who has attained the unity of heaven and man to seize the flower of this tree. I'm not familiar with Kei Shensi. It's possible that he has malicious intentions towards me. This opportunity can increase the chance of opening the second gate of the heavenly being realm, but it's just a slight chance, it's not necessary. Therefore, the most important thing now is to cultivate the war god art. If there's time, I can transform into a mortal and enter the true realm. It's not impossible to seize that flower. Ning Fan's thoughts raced. After a moment, he made up his mind and clasped his fists at Kei Shensi apologetically. Junior still needs to comprehend the true realm. I'm afraid I won't have the time to seize this opportunity. After hearing that Ning Fan had rejected his good intention, Kei Shensi was startled at first, then shook his head with a bitter smile. Forget it. This old man will leave Bianliang City today to make some preparations for obtaining the flower. When the flower blooms, this old man will return to this city. If little friend changes your mind at that time, you can follow this old man to obtain the flower. If this old man is alone, I'm afraid the chance of obtaining the flower will be very low. I hope little friend can change your mind, AI. Kei Shensi let out a sigh and no longer mentioned this matter. He took out some spiritual wine and drank with Ning Fan on the gaily painted boat. Their friendship was shallow, so they naturally couldn't have a deep conversation, but it was still possible to discuss the Tao with each other while drinking. Both of them were cultivators who had opened the first gate of the heavenly being realm. Their knowledge and experience were naturally incomparable to ordinary cultivators. As the sky darkened, Kei Shensi finally had the intention to leave. He bid farewell to Ning Fan and left Bianliang City. Ning Fan returned to his home and sat cross-legged for a long time before his Tao heart completely calmed down. It wasn't that Ning Fan wasn't tempted by the opportunity that Kei Shensi mentioned, but he didn't care too much about it. After putting everything behind him, Ning Fan began to cultivate the war god art wholeheartedly. There was a private school that was just a wall away from Ning Fan's house. In the evening, there were naturally many children who had left school, making the street bustling with activity. There were also peddlers shouting their wares as they walked past the courtyard wall of Ning Fan's house. There were also all kinds of noises from the market. Not only did it not disturb his cultivation, it made his heart even more peaceful. Suddenly, Ning Fan understood why some powerful cultivators like to choose the noisy marketplace to comprehend the Tao. Small seclusion in the wilderness, big seclusion in the city. The noise of the market could calm one's Tao heart better. The chirping of cicadas in the forest was quieter than the chirping of birds in the mountain. Ning Fan's Tao heart was like a forest and a mountain, reaching an unprecedented level of concentration. His body, mouth, and intent were perfectly united. At this moment, Ning Fan felt that he was getting closer to the myriad of Tao in the heavens. The feeling of being in harmony with heaven and earth had also deepened. Suddenly, Ning Fan's eyes had a hint of enlightenment. Perhaps, if he could transform into a mortal for thousands of years, he could still find the opportunity to open the second gate of the celestial being realm even if there wasn't any opportunity. This was Ning Fan's first day in Bianliang City. On the second day, the private school next door suddenly became lively. Countless people of Bianliang City flocked to this place to watch the bustling scene. The reason was simple. A new teacher had come to the private school today. He was a great scholar in Xiufu City, Zhao Boyang. Although Bianliang City was prosperous, there weren't any great scholars in the city. When Zhao Boyang came to teach in this private school, many of the wealthy clans in Bianliang City rushed to send their disciples to this private school. How could a small private school accommodate so many students? A few wealthy clans discussed and decided to expand the private school into an academy. Once the academy was opened, Zhao Boyang wouldn't be the only teacher. They could invite some famous scholars to teach them. With the financial resources of these wealthy clans, it only took them a month to build an academy that was only a wall away from the Ning family. The name of the academy was Academy in the Clouds. It was meant to encourage the students to have lofty ambitions. Although the academy was built, the teachers hadn't been found yet. Therefore, the school hadn't started yet. It had been a month since Ning Fan arrived in Bianliang City. Occasionally, he would bring Lu Yan and Immortal Loli to the Bian River for an outing. Most of the time, he would stay at home in seclusion to condense his crystal. Lu Yan's appearance was considered top-notch in the cultivation world. Naturally, she was peerless in the mortal world. In just a month, the news had spread in Bianliang City that Ning Ning had given birth to a beautiful wife whose beauty outshone the moon and flowers. There was also a rumor that the silver-haired little Loli was Ning Ning's daughter. She had an extraordinary appearance since she was young. When she grew up, she would definitely be a peerless beauty. Countless playboys came looking for fish. Unfortunately, they were all beaten up by Immortal Loli and fled in a hurry. Immortal Loli was bored, extremely bored. Even though she had thunder fragments to eat and a good night's sleep, she still felt bored. Beating people up became Immortal Loli's pastime. Every time she saw a playboy showing an evil smile at Lu Yan, she would rush forward and beat him up violently. Every time she saw a lecherous old man looking at her with a perverted and wretched smile, she would rush forward and beat him up violently. The playboy gathered dozens of guards and wanted to get back at her. Don't be afraid, beat him up. The son of the city lord of Bianliang City was beaten up and 300 soldiers came to encircle her. Don't be afraid, beat him up. Immortal Loli's violent reputation quickly spread across the entire Bianliang City. No one dared to provoke her. Everyone in the city knew that Ning Sheng had a daughter named Ning Xianxian who was 7 years old. She had been taught a divine technique by an expert. 300 soldiers were no match for Ning Xianxian alone. Ning Fan was powerless to stop Immortal Loli's high profile and violent behavior. He could only let her do as she pleased. His only request was to stop her from using her abilities to kill people in Bianliang City. Compared to the violent Immortal Loli, Lu Yan was much more gentle and quiet. During the day, she really seemed to have become Ning Fan's wife. She washed and cooked like a mortal woman. At night, she would wholeheartedly nurture the weapon spirit. She realized that nurturing the weapon spirit in the mortal world was much faster than when she was in seclusion. As for turning into a mortal with Ning Fan, she did not seem to reject it. Instead, she somewhat enjoyed this peaceful life. However, this was a barbarian city. It was a world where savage beasts rampaged. The people were struggling to survive under the slaughter of the savage beasts. Within a month, the savage beasts had actually attacked the city 7 times. Every time there were soldiers fighting the savage beasts with their mortal bodies, Ning Fan would seize the opportunity to collect condensed battle intent crystals. On the city walls of Bianliang City, there were many ancient barbarian statues that looked like humans and beasts. They had abilities that could deter the savage beasts. Every time the savage beasts attacked the city, the barbarian statues would display their power by releasing black and red light to counterattack the savage beasts. With the number of barbarian statues in Bianliang City, even if the savage beasts of the second step besieged the city, it was difficult to guarantee that they would not die. However, before Ning Fan came to Bianliang City, every time the savage beasts attacked the city, there would be a certain number of casualties. Sometimes, only one person would die. Sometimes, a few people would die. Sometimes, a part of the city wall would collapse and more than 10 people would die. However, after Ning Fan arrived, he would occasionally help the barbarian soldiers. Very few barbarian soldiers would die in the mouths of the savage beasts. Naturally, Ning Fan was disdainful to save some barbarians who were afraid of the savage beasts. The reason why he helped them was not because he felt pity for them. Within a month, Ning Fan had condensed a total of 7 pieces of high-grade fierce elemental crystals. After devouring them, the number of flames of war had increased to 1,300. An increase of 100 flames of war in a month. This kind of cultivation speed was extremely shocking. While walking in Bianliang City, Ning Fan looked at the barbarian statues that could be seen everywhere and fell into deep thought. Every barbarian city had a barbarian god temple. The barbarian monks in the temples knew how to craft the barbarian god jade pendant and the barbarian statues to protect the barbarians. Barbarian monks had a high status among the barbarians. However, their numbers were extremely few. For the first time in a month, Ning Fan came to the barbarian temple in Bianliang City. He saw countless barbarians who were worshipping him devoutly and a barbarian monk who was as thin as a match. That barbarian monk did not have any cultivation base. He was also immortal. However, he could use the power of faith from the people to craft the barbarian god jade pendant and the barbarian statue. That barbarian monk was the only monk in the barbarian temple. His Dharma name was Man Chi. When Ning Fan arrived, he was holding a carving knife in the main hall of the temple. His eyes were filled with lifeless chi while he was carving a barbarian statue. It was just a piece of rotten wood. However, under his carving, it gradually gained some spirituality. As expected, the reason why the barbarian statues in the city can unleash their power is because of the power of the incense. Ning Fan muttered to himself. Man Chi turned his head in displeasure and glared at Ning Fan. He was the only barbarian monk in Bianliang City. His status was extremely high. Even the city lord of Bianliang City would have to show some respect to him. When he was carving the barbarian statue, he disliked being disturbed by others and no one had ever dared to disturb him. However, Ning Fan had barged into his main hall and disturbed him while he was carving the statue. This isn't a place where you should be. Back off. Man Chi's eyes turned sharp. He actually released a trace of aura force towards Ning Fan. That was the aura force he condensed from the incense of the barbarians. It was almost as strong as a harmonious spirit realm cultivator. If it was immortal, they would naturally not be able to withstand his aura force. Unfortunately, his aura force could not affect Ning Fan at all. Incense force, huh? Ning Fan flicked his finger and Man Chi's aura force immediately collapsed. His gaze moved away from Man Chi and landed on a golden statue that was worshipped in the main hall. Man Chi stared at Ning Fan in disbelief. He could not figure out why his aura force was ineffective against Ning Fan. Could it be that Ning Fan is also a barbarian monk and his usage of the power of faith is even more powerful than mine? Benefactor, could it be? Before Man Chi could finish his words, he was interrupted by Ning Fan. Silence. As soon as Ning Fan's voice fell, a wave of aura force as strong as heaven and earth fell on Man Chi's body. Man Chi could not utter a single word while being suppressed by that aura force. His expression when he looked at Ning Fan was filled with deep fear. Benefactor, you are indeed a barbarian monk. Moreover, you are a barbarian monk that is thousands of times stronger than me. Ning Fan did not pay attention to Man Chi. He quietly stared at the golden barbarian statue in the main hall. This golden statue was the ancestor of the barbarians. The statue of the barbarian ancestor was very similar to the inverse nascent soul. It had 2 heads and each of its hands was holding a bolt of lightning, as if it was going to send a tribulation punishment to people. Ning Fan could sense a trace of chi similar to the inverse nascent soul from the statue of the barbarian ancestor. It was very faint and was condensed from the power of incense. Barbarians, savage beasts and tribulation intent. What is the relationship between them? There are too many secrets in this world. With my current cultivation base, I am far from being qualified to see through them. Ning Fan walked out of the temple and walked along the Bian River back to his home. Outside his house, he unexpectedly met Zhao Boyang and his group who were leaving the academy. It was Zhao Boyang's first time coming to the academy after it was built. Zhao Boyang had never thought that Ning Fan would live in a place that was just a wall away from the academy. After being surprised for a while, he was overjoyed and invited Ning Fan to the academy to be a teacher. Currently, the academy was recruiting famous teachers. In Zhao Boyang's mind, Ning Fan was a great Confucian scholar of the current era. He was naturally qualified to teach in the academy. Zhao Boyang politely declined Zhao Boyang's invitation. Seeing that Ning Fan did not have the intention to teach and educate people, Zhao Boyang did not force him anymore and left with a sigh. However, from then on, Zhao Boyang would often come to the academy next door to look for Ning Fan to discuss Confucianism in his spare time. When the first gust of autumn wind blew into Bianliang City, it had already been 3 months since Ning Fan arrived in Bianliang City. Time passed by slowly. In the first winter, the winter plum blossoms on both sides of the Bian River did not bloom. In the second winter, the plum blossoms still did not bloom. In the third winter, it suddenly snowed heavily in Bianliang City. Both sides of the Bian River were covered with white snow and the plum blossoms were in full bloom. The number of natal war flames in Ning Fan's body had already reached 4,500. As for the yin-yang battle technique, it had already reached 74%. The further he progressed, the more difficult it became to cultivate. Fortunately, Ning Fan was not in a hurry. He understood that haste makes waste in cultivation. The immortal Loli's lightning physique evolved bit by bit, and the chill of the lightning power in her body became more and more obvious. She seemed to be afraid of the cold, and was unwilling to go out when it snowed. 3 years had passed, but the immortal Loli didn't grow at all. Many people secretly guessed that the immortal Loli had eaten the youth-halting immortal fruit outside the barbarian city by mistake, which allowed her to retain her youth. Lu Yen stayed at home and took care of the immortal Loli who was sleeping soundly. After being together for so many years, her relationship with this violent Loli had deepened. In addition to harmonizing the spirit with the astrolabe, she would also weave some cloth and embroider some patterns like a mortal woman in her spare time. She would then exchange them for money to pass the time. Since Ning Fan wanted to transform into a mortal, she would naturally do her best to create a mortal atmosphere for him. Amidst the wind and snow, the recitation of a barbarian child could be heard coming from the academy in the clouds. Barbarians are the ancestors of nature, the great sex of all realms. The barbarian is born in the dust and dies in the tribulation. Everything in the world cannot be clung to, clinging to it will lead to the loss of the barbarian. Ning Fan walked out of his house, leaving footprints on the snowy ground. However, they were soon covered by the wind and snow. Ning Fan's ears were echoing with the sound of the students reciting, but he remained silent. The children were reciting the Barbarian Ancestor Scripture, an academic classic left behind by the ancestors of the barbarians. The Barbarian Ancestor Scripture kept telling barbarians to be indifferent to life and death, to give up their obsession, to follow their destiny and not to resist. Ning Fan had heard the recitation too many times and he was already tired of it. Every sentence of the Barbarian Ancestor Scripture went against his Tao. Everything in the world should not be stubborn, should not be stubborn. The ancestral bow was sealed by Ning Fan and temporarily kept in his storage pouch. As for the 7 7-colored arrow spirits, they were sealed inside his body. Each of the arrow spirits contained a terrifying amount of true illusion power. During these 3 years, Ning Fan had already refined half of the first arrow spirit. The true illusion power in his body skyrocketed and was absorbed by Ning Fan into his Tao heart. His cultivation base was getting closer and closer to the early crossing truth realm. Currently, he could already vaguely see the true bridge hidden in the mist of his Tao heart. However, he still couldn't see through it completely. Moreover, he gradually discovered that there was more than one true bridge hidden in the mist. There were many more. Crossing truth is still far away. Ning Fan held the wine gourd given to him by Kei Shensi and walked on the snow towards the Bian River. The red plum blossoms on the shore had already bloomed. Looking at the red plum blossoms in the snow, Ning Fan thought of Yu Country and 7 Apricot City. Kei Shensi advised him to give up on Du Zhen but he wouldn't. The barbarian ancestor scripture advised people to let go of their obsession and he wouldn't either. It was because he still had a home. His home was in 7 Apricot City, U Country, and the Rain World. He still had his family. He still had things that he must protect. There were too many things that he had to do and he couldn't let go of his obsession. He needed strength to fulfill his promise to Shah Di. He needed strength to find the immortal emperor who had schemed against him and take revenge. He needed strength to stand beside Luo Yu one day. He also needed strength to create a great world where there was no conflict. He did not know how much strength he needed to achieve that. Looking at the red plum blossoms, Ning Fan lifted the gourd and drank a mouthful of spiritual wine, letting the medicinal power of the Tao-seeking fruit spread throughout his body. After an unknown period of time, a burst of laughter came from behind him. "Uncle, can you pluck a few plum blossoms for me? I want to weave a flower crown for the little snow cow. But I'm too short. I can't reach it." A 2 to 3 years old baby wearing a small red cotton jacket with her hair combed into a bun was holding the corner of Ning Fan's clothes pitifully. Her face was red from the cold. In order to show Ning Fan that she couldn't reach the plum blossoms, she tiptoed and hopped. Sure enough, she couldn't reach it. It was far from her reach. "Oh. It's that little girl." Ning Fan recognized the little girl in front of him at first glance based on her chi. She was Zhao Boyang's daughter, Zhao Dai. She was already 3 years old. Originally, she followed her father to the academy to play. When the maidservants weren't paying attention, she sneaked out and made a snowman that looked like a dog or a cow on the snowy ground beside the river. "Uncle, help me pluck some plum blossoms. I will marry you when I grow up. I promise you. If you don't believe me, let's pinky swear." Dai said confidently. Chapter 868. Marry me. "Ha, do you know what it means to get married?" Ning Fan was startled and laughed involuntarily. In his life, he had never been confessed to by a child who was less than 3 years old. He only found it interesting. "I know. Getting married is to be like Sister Sia, wearing a beautiful wedding coat, eating a lot of wedding cakes, sitting on a wedding boat and lighting up the wedding lanterns. Dai wants to get married even in her dreams." Zhao Dai answered with a childish voice, her face full of envy. How could she understand the meaning of getting married? To her, getting married meant having delicious food and fun. Sister Sia? Who's that? Ning Fan squatted down and stroked Dai's little head with a gentle expression. "Sister Sia is the servant that mother appointed for me. She treats me very well, but it's strange that after she got married, she no longer takes care of me. Uncle, quick, help me pick the plum blossoms." The child pouted as if he didn't like being patted on the head as it wouldn't grow taller. "All right, I'll help Dai. How many plum blossoms does Dai want?" A lot. "How many?" "I don't know. Anyway, I want a lot." Ning Fan laughed and shook his head. He only picked 2 plum blossoms and put one on the head of the little snow cow and the other on Dai's head. "It's not enough. Dai wants more plum blossoms. Dai wants to weave a big flower crown." The child pouted and said, "Some things, the more the better. The beauty of plum blossoms lies in its solitude and pride. Wearing only one is the most beautiful. It's not a flower that can be weaved into a crown. I don't understand." "Uncle, I don't understand a single word you said." The child looked at Ning Fan in confusion, not understanding why he didn't pick more plum blossoms for her. However, she didn't mind. Anyway, the little snow cow already had a plum blossom on its head, and she also had one on her head. She was already very happy. She hopped around the little snow cow and hummed a folk song. "Little barbaric cow, don't look back, fight for freedom with the heavens. Don't give up until you see the yellow river, but the river is not clear. The river is not clear, catch the barbarian fish can jump 3,000 li fight against the heavens, but get caught by the cat." This was a ballad passed down from mouth to mouth among the barbarians. The meaning of the ballad was that the bull fought against the heavens for freedom, but it was stopped at the Yellow River. The barbarian fish fought against the heavens, but it died in the mouth of the cat. The ballad was advising the barbarians that humans could not fight against the heavens. They had to obey the will of the heavens and could not go against it. This rumor is a little harsh, Ning Fan said with a slight frown. But seeing that the little boy was singing happily, he didn't interrupt him. The little boy made a small snow cow and asked Ning Fan to help him build a big snowman. After making one, he had to make another one. In the end, he made 5 snowmen for the little boy. 4 big ones and 1 small one. This is father, this is mother, this is sister Sia, this is Dai, and this is uncle. Let's live happily together, be happy and carefree. The little boy made the decision on his own and confirmed the identities of the 5 snowmen. Ning Fan smiled and looked at the innocent expression of the little boy. His heart began to truly integrate into the life in Bianliang. 4 men panted heavily and hurriedly ran towards him. They were the guards of the Zhao mansion. The 4 guards were looking for Zhao Dai, Seeing that she was fine, they were relieved. 3 of them looked at Ning Fan with hostility in their eyes. They were the newly recruited guards of Zhao Boyang after he came to Bianliang. Among the 3 of them, the one with the sturdiest physique stepped in front of Ning Fan and said fiercely, "Who are you? How dare you abduct the eldest daughter of the Zhao clan here? What are your intentions?" The man's tone was very unfriendly. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a cold light, but he didn't do anything to him. Ning Fan disdained to attack mortals, so he just stared at the man coldly. Just a cold stare without releasing any extra pressure was enough to make the sturdy man's expression change drastically. His whole body was drenched in cold sweat. An expert. This man is definitely an expert. Since when did the Bianliang martial world have such a young expert? The sturdy man was so scared that he almost fell to the ground. At this moment, the leader of the 4 suddenly reprimanded the man. "Wang Li, you are too rude. This young master is old master's friend. He is a distinguished guest of our Zhao clan. How dare you speak to him in such a manner?" The one who reprimanded the sturdy man was Zhao San, the guard of the Zhao clan. Ning Fan had once chased away a savage beast and saved his life. Naturally, he knew Ning Fan and he always had some respect for him. Zhao San glared fiercely at the other guards. His hand was already on the blade on his waist. If anyone dares to be rude to Ning Fan again, he would use his blade to kill them. What? This young master is actually old master's friend? The way the other 3 guards looked at Ning Fan immediately became respectful. How would they dare to offend him? Zhao San asked Ning Fan for the reason. After thanking him for taking care of Zhao Dai, he brought her back to the Cloud Academy. Zhao Dai had not had enough fun yet. She did not want to go back at all. However, she was afraid that her father would beat her if she returned too late. Every few steps she took, she would turn her head and look at Ning Fan reluctantly. After walking far away, she actually turned around and ran back to Ning Fan with a serious expression. "Uncle, build a snowman for Dai, When Dai, grows up, you must marry me. I want you to build a snowman for me every day." As soon as she finished speaking, she skipped and ran towards the academy while Zhao San and the others were dumbfounded. "Marry me? You're just a little kid." Ning Fan smiled faintly and did not mind her words. He turned his head and continued to look at the red plum tree. This was the second time he met Zhao Dai, However, it was definitely not the last time. The snow in Bianliang had yet to stop. The Bian River gradually froze. There were no more pleasure boats sailing in the snow. Zhao Dai, followed Zhao San and found Ning Fan's house. It was actually just a wall away from the Cloud Academy. Thus, she would come to play with Ning Fan every few days and ask him to build a snowman for her. Why did she look for Ning Fan? Firstly, it was because Ning Fan was gentle to children and rarely scolded them. Secondly, it was because Ning Fan would occasionally give her some strange sweet pills. They were very sweet and tasty. After eating them, her body would feel warm and not be afraid of the cold snow. Thirdly, it was because Zhao Dai felt that Ning Fan was very free. Every single one of her servants and guards had a lot of work to do. Other than the elderly and children, the common people in Bianliang City had countless jobs to do. Only Ning Fan was very free. He had nothing to do all day. He would go out to walk in the snow, enjoy the plum trees and drink wine. Uncle, why do you have so much free time when everyone has work to do? Mother said that this kind of behavior is called gluttony and laziness. When a girl grows up, she shouldn't marry a lazy man. Dai suddenly doesn't want to marry you. Then why did you come to my house? Ning Fan was speechless. Because the snowman you build looks good. When the snow stops and there are no more snowmen to build, Dai won't look for you anymore. Dai is going to learn martial arts from brother Xiaowu. When Dai grows up, I want to become a barbarian monk and deliver all living beings from suffering. Good ambition. This is my first time hearing that a little girl wants to become a nun. Ning Fan's forehead was full of black lines. The snow only stopped after the end of the first month. After the snow melted, Zhao Dai didn't bother Ning Fan anymore. Perhaps Ning Fan's meaning to her was just to build a snowman. On the other hand, Zhao Dai's father, Zhao Boyang, came to Ning Fan's house more and more frequently. Every time he came, he would drink wine and discuss the Tao with Ning Fan. Ning Fan's comprehension of the Tao was so profound that even if he didn't cultivate the Confucian scriptures, what he said was enough for Zhao Boyang to use as a classic. In Zhao Boyang's heart, Ning Fan had already become a bosom friend, not just a benefactor. Seeing that Ning Fan seemed to take good care of his daughter, Zhao Boyang once said to Ning Fan half-jokingly after getting drunk. Brother Ning, you and I aren't ordinary people. If you really like Dai, I'm willing to make the decision and betroth her to you. Dai, is still young now. You can set up the engagement first. After she reaches the age of 15, we'll find a matchmaker. What do you think? I know that you already have a wife and Dai, will probably be your concubine. However, with Brother Ning's character, I believe you won't mistreat Dai, Of course, Ning Fan would never agree to such words. He would never be moved by a 3-year-old baby. Zhao Boyang still had the intention to invite Ning Fan to join the Cloud Academy. However, every time he raised the invitation, Ning Fan would still politely reject him. He was becoming more and more immersed in his identity as a mortal, enjoying the rare peace in Bianliang City. The number of flames of war was increasing bit by bit. The cultivation of the Yin-Yang War was progressing bit by bit and the 7-colored arrow spirit was being refined bit by bit. Every day, Lu Yen would warm the wine for him and the immortal Loli would come to him to practice. When the snow melted, the immortal Loli would come to Bianliang City again. This was the 3rd year since she came to Bianliang City. She had already defeated everyone in the city. Currently, there was no one in Bianliang City who didn't know her name. It was said that she had devoured some kind of immortal herb which allowed her to maintain the appearance of a little girl forever. It was said that her martial arts had reached perfection. She had defeated 300 soldiers of Bianliang City alone. There were only a few people in Bianliang City who dared to fight with her. Besides, Ning Fan did not allow her to go out of the city to hunt wild beasts. Thus, the bored immortal Loli could only fight with Ning Fan every day. Naturally, she could not use her abilities. Ning Fan also did not use his abilities. Other people might not be able to defeat the immortal Loli, but it was impossible for Ning Fan to lose to her. However, he would not bully her either. He was just a sparring partner. Gradually, the news began to spread in Bianliang City. Ning Sheng was also a peerless expert who lived in seclusion in the Jianghu. Thus, it did not cause too much surprise. In the eyes of the people, it was not strange for Ning Fan, the father of the immortal Loli, to possess peerless martial arts. In the 4th year, it did not snow in Bianliang City and the winter plum blossoms did not bloom. In the 5th year, it did not snow in Bianliang City. In the 6th year, it snowed again in Bianliang City. Ning Fan walked on the snow to admire the plum blossoms again. Once again, he met Xiao Dai, at the bank of the Bian River. The current Xiao Dai, was already 6 years old. Compared to the past, she was much taller. She was also much more sensible and quiet. When she met Ning Fan again, she recognized him at first glance. She still asked Ning Fan to help her build a snowman. However, she was much more shy compared to the past. She no longer talked nonsense like marrying Ning Fan. No matter what, she was the daughter of a great Confucian scholar, Xiao Boyang. Her upbringing was very strict. Thus, she already knew what it meant to get married. It had been 6 years since Ning Fan came to Bianliang City. He had deliberately changed his appearance. He no longer looked young like the immortal Loli. When he first arrived in Bianliang City, he looked like a young man in his 20s. Now, he looked much more mature. "Uncle, can you help me build a snowman?" "Sure." "Uncle, Dai, wants a plum blossom." "All right. I'll help you pluck it." Compared to the past, Xiao Dai, was undoubtedly much more polite. However, she also felt a little less intimate. The current Xiao Dai only treated Ning Fan like an uncle in her family. Thus, she naturally knew how to be polite. Gradually, she heard from her mother that Ning Fan was not only her father's good friend but also the one who saved the lives of her entire family from a savage beast in the past. Moreover, he even helped her cure the barbaric poison in her body. Her heart was filled with gratitude towards Ning Fan. In that gratitude, there was no ambiguous romantic feelings. Dai, has grown up. Ning Fan stroked Xiao Dai's long black hair which was as smooth as silk. Xiao Dai, smiled sweetly. She did not resist. Wasn't it very normal for an elder to touch the head of a junior? "Do you still want to marry me?" Ning Fan asked with a smile. "Uncle, please don't tease me. At that time, I was still young and immature. A child's words carry no harm. Uncle, please don't take it to heart." Xiao Dai's small face blushed as she recalled the embarrassing incident in the past. Ha! Dai, has really grown up. Brother Boyang's upbringing is indeed strict. A 6-year-old child is already so sensible. Ning Fan withdrew his palm and did not mind it at all. He turned his head and looked at the red plum blossom tree. Then, he raised his gourd and gulped down his spiritual wine. He was clearly looking at the red plum blossom tree. However, Xiao Dai, who was a little girl, could tell that he was not looking at the plum blossom. "Uncle is looking at the plum blossom, but what I'm thinking about is not the plum blossom," the little girl said with certainty. "Oh. How do you know that I'm not thinking about the plum blossom?" Ning Fan asked with a smile. "Every time Mother misses our hometown in Xiufu, she would look at the old clothes and jewelry that she brought with her. Uncle's eyes are very similar to Mother's. Uncle must be thinking about someone. But I don't understand. Uncle has a wife and a daughter and his home is in Bianliang. Who would he be thinking about?" the little girl asked curiously. "Uncle is thinking about his family. Those family members are in a faraway place. In Uncle's hometown, the wind and snow will never stop and the plum blossom will never wither." Ning Fan's eyes were filled with reminiscence. "Uncle's home is in a faraway barbarian city. Can't I go back? Was it massacred by the wild beasts like Xiufu City?" "No, Uncle's home is still there. I can still go back. Then, when Dai, grows up, can I accompany Uncle back home? Dai, also wants to see what the barbarian city looks like." Xiao Dai, said with longing. "You can't go," Ning Fan sighed softly. Xiao Dai, was a barbarian. Barbarians and wild beasts couldn't leave the savage ancient domain. They couldn't even be kept into the heavenly dwelling treasure. Barbarians, the cultivators of the 4 heavens and the demon race belonged to different worlds. The savage wasteland, the four heavens and the demon's spirit land of the upper world belonged to different worlds. Outsiders could come to the savage wasteland but barbarians could never go to other worlds. Why? Is it because we will encounter a lot of wild beasts along the way? Zhao Dai asked disappointedly. No. It's just that you really can't go. Oh, Zhao Dai lowered her head in disappointment. In order to make her happy, Ning Fan made a few more snowmen. The snowmen he made were not humans but beasts. They weren't wild beasts but creatures that were never recorded in the records of the barbarians. If there were cultivators of the rain world here, they would certainly notice that the snowmen Ning Fan made were the unique wild beasts of the rain world. These wild beasts weren't very strong. Ning Fan had killed some of them. As time passed, Ning Fan's eyes were filled with longing when he looked at these wild beasts. Huh? Aren't beasts the natural enemies of barbarians? Why does Uncle look like he misses these beasts? The little girl asked curiously. In Uncle's hometown, beasts aren't necessarily the enemy of humans. Of course, these beasts used to be Uncle's enemies. Huh? There are still wild beasts that won't be enemies with humans in this world? I've decided that after I become a barbarian monk, I will carve a barbarian ancestral carriage and go to Uncle's hometown to have a look. No matter how many wild beasts there are on the road, they won't be able to stop the barbarian carriage. You really can't go there. However, I didn't expect you to still have the ambition to become a barbarian monk. Ning Fan sighed with emotion. It seemed like this Zhao Dai had made up her mind to become a barbarian monk. This thought probably wouldn't disappear as she grew older. On the second day, Zhao Dai didn't come to Bian River to play in the snow. She had officially entered the Cloud Academy to be enlightened. She didn't have time to pester Ning Fan anymore. The snow this year was slightly sparse. In the 7th year, there was snow in Bianliang. In the 8th year, there was snow in Bianliang. In the 9th year, there was snow in Bianliang. In the 10th year, there was no snow in Bianliang. It had been 10 years since Ning Fan came to Bianliang. The number of his natal war flames had already reached 99. It was already his limit and it was hard for him to increase it any further. The cultivation technique of the god of war art could only produce so many battle flames. It could not produce any more. 9,999 war flames were enough to cultivate the 4th transformation of the war god art. However, Ning Fan still couldn't achieve it. The number of war flames was already enough. However, no one would have expected that there was a second condition in order to cultivate the 4th transformation of the war god art. The cultivator must at least have the cultivation base of the early crossing truth realm in order to break through the bottleneck of the 4th transformation. Since no one in the Luo clan had successfully cultivated the 4th transformation of the war god art after the combat king realm, no one knew that one must have the cultivation base of the crossing truth realm in order to cultivate the 4th transformation. I can't break through the bottleneck of the 4th transformation without reaching the crossing truth realm. I didn't expect there to be such a problem. Fortunately, breaking through to the crossing truth realm is only a matter of time. Ning Fan smiled indifferently. He had already refined half of the 7 colored arrow spirits that he had devoured that day. He could feel that he was getting closer and closer to breaking through to the crossing truth realm. As long as he completely devours the 7 arrow spirits, he should be able to accumulate enough illusory power to see through all the mist and step onto the true bridge. Once he succeeds in the crossing truth realm, the 4th transformation would naturally be completed. There was nothing to worry about. Although the cultivation of the war god art had reached the bottleneck, Ning Fan still quietly condensed and devoured the fierce elemental crystals. The progress of the war god art had already reached 82%. He reckoned that he would be able to master it in 20 years like the yin-yang rain. Brother Wu should have returned to the eastern heaven. 10 years have passed. The demon race's bounty on me doesn't seem to be as crazy as before. Ning Fan raised his head and looked at the sky above the city. There was a void fragmentation demon cultivator passing by the city and went far away. That demon cultivator didn't notice Ning Fan's presence. In the past 10 years, there were demon cultivators passing by the city from time to time, but none of them noticed Ning Fan's presence. Gradually, there were fewer and fewer demon cultivators searching for him. The great reputation that Ning Fan made 10 years ago was slowly being forgotten by the cultivators of the desolate mountains. I've spent 10 years to turn my mental state into that of a mortal. Now, it's time for me to seek for the truth. Ning Fan looked at the barren plum tree in front of him. His eyes flickered. He returned home. Outside his house, he met Zhao Dai, by chance. This year, she was 10 years old. Chapter 869. In Bianliang, girls from noble families were usually engaged at the age of 13 or 14, and married at the age of 15. A 10-year-old girl was no longer young. Zhao Dai, was already 10 years old. A 10-year-old girl's body had yet to fully develop, but her beauty had already begun to blossom. Today, Zhao Dai, was wearing a small silk jacket. Her petite body was wrapped in a furry fox fur coat, and her face was bright and clean. There was no snow in Bianliang this year. It was Ning Fan's first time meeting Zhao Dai, when there was no snow. 10 years had passed. Ning Fan's appearance now looked like that of a 30-year-old man. His eyes were much deeper than before. However, the moment he saw Zhao Dai, his eyes turned gentle and he said with a faint smile. "Oh. Isn't that Dai, Dai, greets Uncle Ning. Did Uncle Ning go to Bian River to enjoy the scenery again?" Unfortunately, there was no snow in Bianliang this year, and the plum blossoms did not bloom. Without the company of plum blossoms, Uncle's wine will be a little lonely. Zhao Dai, smiled shyly and lowered her head. Her black hair fell like a waterfall, and her voice was soft and sweet. The 10-year-old Zhao Dai, was more polite now. She no longer pestered Ning Fan to build a snowman. The 10-year-old Zhao Dai, already had the mind of a young girl. Ning Fan's appearance was already handsome, and because of his many years of cultivation, he had an otherworldly temperament. Even though he had deliberately aged her appearance, it still made Zhao Dai, who had just started to understand love, blush and her heart beat faster. Behind Zhao Dai, were two maidservants of the Zhao mansion. They were both 18 or 19 years old and had pretty features. After serving the Zhao mansion for many years, the two maidservants had seen many outstanding talents in Bianliang. They had also seen some who had outstanding looks and talents. However, it was rare to see someone like Ning Fan who had an outstanding temperament. Therefore, it wasn't just Zhao Dai, who blushed, even the two maids were blushing. They would steal a few glances at Ning Fan from time to time. "Yeah, there's no snow in Bianliang this year and the plum blossoms haven't bloomed yet. This wine is really lonely. Brother Boyang's illness, is it better now?" Ning Fan changed the topic and asked. He had been in Bianliang for 10 years and had known Zhao Boyang for 10 years. They could be considered old friends. For a whole month, Zhao Boyang did not come to the academy to teach. It was said that his old illness had relapsed and it was quite serious. Father's leg disease will act up every year, but it's more serious this year. He can't get out of bed, so he needs someone to take care of him. We've invited some famous doctors, but there's no improvement. Even the barbaric medicine given by Master Man Qi doesn't have any effect. When Zhao Dai thought of her father's sickly appearance, she felt a lump in her throat and her eyes reddened. Leg injury. Don't cry, come with me. Ning Fan stroked Zhao Dai's black hair and pushed the door open to return to the mansion. His subconscious action made Zhao Dai forget to cry. She was already 10 years old, a grown lady. Many aristocratic families in Bianliang had proposed to her, but Ning Fan still treated her like a child and caressed her head casually. It was very rude, but Zhao Dai didn't seem to dislike this feeling. Leaving the two maids outside, Zhao Dai entered the courtyard of the Ning residence alone. The plum blossoms in Bianliang had not bloomed yet, but there was a plum tree in the courtyard that was in full bloom. The plum tree in Uncle's house is so strange. It's different from the one in Bianliang City. Zhao Dai said in surprise. Of course it's different. It's not an ordinary plum tree. Ning Fan smiled and plucked 2 plum blossoms from the tree. One of them had a weaker spiritual qi and he put it on Zhao Dai's hair. As for the other one, he magically put it into a brocade box and gave it to Zhao Dai. Take the plum blossoms in the box and feed it to your father. His leg disease will recover by itself. Don't spread this matter in Bianliang City and don't tell your father that I'm the one who gave him the plum blossoms. Zhao Dai's little head was already in a daze. She didn't hear what Ning Fan said at all. She instinctively took the jade box and lowered her head like an ostrich. There was only one thing in her mind: she was being teased by Uncle Ning. In Bianliang, men and women were not allowed to touch each other, but Ning Fan stroked her hair and put a flower on her head. Her face seemed to be on fire, it was boiling hot and there was only the sound of her heartbeat in her ears. Do you know how to be shy now? Dai has really grown up. It's uncle who has become frivolous. Ning Fan laughed and shook his head. His bone age had already reached 1,000 years. Zhao Dai would always be a child in front of him. He didn't think about the layer of precaution between men and women before, but now he knew that he had to pay attention to it. He repeated what he had told Zhao Dai just now and reminded her in detail. Only then did he let her leave. Zhao Dai's face was still blushing when she walked out of the gate of Ning Mansion. It took her a lot of effort to calm down. She looked at the brocade box in her hand with a face full of disbelief. Why did uncle give me a plum blossoms? He even said that this plum blossoms can cure father's leg disease. Dai has read many medical books, but I've never heard that plum blossoms can cure leg diseases. Although she didn't believe that plum blossoms could cure leg diseases, she still wanted to give it a try. She brought the plum blossoms back home and gave it to her father to consume. Zhao Boyang's leg disease was obviously incurable, but after he consumed the plum blossoms, his leg disease actually improved day by day. Zhao Boyang kept asking where the plum blossoms came from. Zhao Dai remembered Ning Fan's instructions and didn't speak nonsense. However, this matter still spread in Bianliang City. No one knew what kind of plum blossoms could actually cure great scholar Zhao's chronic leg disease. Zhao Dai was the only one who knew the truth. When she was 10 years old, it was her first time witnessing Ning Fan's inconceivable abilities. When she went to the Ning family again and was about to thank Ning Fan for giving her the plum blossoms, she realized that Ning Fan wasn't at home. Only his wife and daughter were at home. After asking Lu Yan's aunt and immortal lowly sister, Zhao Dai found out that Ning Fan was currently painting at the bank of Bian River. Uncle Ning is painting at Bian River? Zhao Dai felt very surprised. In her impression, Ning Fan seemed to only know how to drink wine and admire plum blossoms. When she arrived at the bank of Bian River and found Ning Fan, she saw him standing beside a flat bluestone that was half the height of a human and looking at an ancient painting. After 10 years of turning into a mortal, Ning Fan finally began to comprehend the truth. The truth of the Tao could not be passed down by word of mouth. Thus, Ning Fan integrated his comprehension of the truth of the Tao into his painting and drew it into a painting to comprehend the truth. The ancient painting that Ning Fan was looking at was a painting that he obtained from the Luoyun demon sealer Lu Daochen when he was in the 9 divisions of the Lu clan. The content of the painting was the scene where Lu Wu, the demon marshal of the ancient heavenly court, drove a chariot to battle. This painting was drawn by a painting immortal of the ancient heavenly court. It could turn illusions into reality. As long as one activated their magic power, the person in the painting could materialize. This painting contained the comprehension of the truth of the Tao of that painting immortal. Ning Fan stared at the ancient painting for a long time. Then, he kept it and took out some paper, ink, brush and inkstone. He placed them on the blue stone and began to paint. He knew that Zhao Dai had already arrived and was standing beside him. However, at this moment, he focused on painting and did not pay attention to her. Zhao Dai also did not disturb him. Ning Fan's painting skills could only be considered ordinary. His skills were far from the highest level. However, his painting contained profound intent realm that was close to the Tao. The most important thing in ink painting was the intent realm. What he painted was the landscape of Bianliang City. Every blade of grass and every tree had already been integrated into his heart in the past 10 years. However, he could only draw the shops on the long street of Bianliang City. He could not draw the hustle and bustle of the city. He could draw the water of the Bian River, but he could not make the water flow. He could draw the bare plum trees on both sides of the river, but he could not make the plum blossoms on the trees bloom. Is it still not enough? Ning Fan sighed softly. He put down the brush and looked at the river in silence. He was still not satisfied with this painting. The reason for his dissatisfaction was that he could not merge the truth into the painting. Zhao Dai's beautiful eyes sparkled with surprise as she looked at Ning Fan's painting. Of course, she did not know anything about the truth of the Tao. In her opinion, Ning Fan's attainments in landscape painting had undoubtedly reached an extremely high level. Every blade of grass and every tree had its own meaning. She did not understand why Ning Fan would sigh when he had clearly drawn a peerless painting. Uncle, are you not satisfied with this painting? Zhao Dai did not address Ning Fan as uncle. Her tone seemed to have returned to the intimate manner when they were young. You noticed it again? Ning Fan said with a smile. Hee hee. Uncle's brows are almost knitting together. How can Dai and not notice it? Zhao Dai smiled sweetly. Suddenly, a thought crossed her mind. Her face turned red and she lowered her head to beg Ning Fan. Uncle, can you teach Dai how to paint? Dai wants to learn. Isn't your ambition to be a barbarian monk? Why don't you learn the barbarian scripture instead of painting with me? Don't you want to be a barbarian monk anymore? Ning Fan laughed. No. Dai's ambition is still to be a barbarian monk. Moreover, Dai has already promised Man Qi. Zhao Dai sighed faintly halfway through her words and did not continue. Ning Fan did not ask further. He just looked at Zhao Dai with interest. He untied the wine gourd on his waist and drank a mouthful of wine. Uncle, can you teach Dai how to paint? 5 years. Dai will only disturb uncle for 5 years. After 5 years, Dai will leave. Zhao Dai's black eyes stared at Ning Fan with a hint of pleading. There was even a hint of muddled emotion in her expression. All right. Ning Fan nodded. His eyes swept across the plum blossom on Zhao Dai's temple and sighed. After a few days, the plum blossom had already withered. However, Zhao Dai still wore it on her head. Has she grown up? From that day onwards, Zhao Dai would look for Ning Fan to learn how to paint whenever she had free time. Ning Fan would definitely be at the side of the bluestone beside the Bian River. Sometimes, he would splash ink and brush, while other times, he would ponder in silence. On the 11th year, Ning Fan finally managed to draw a flowing river. On the 12th year, a few red plum blossoms bloomed on the bare plum branches under Ning Fan's brush. On the 13th year, the market in Ning Fan's painting vaguely resounded with noises. On the 14th year, Ning Fan began to draw flying dragons, strange beasts, and some living beings in the mountains and seas. On the 15th year, Ning Fan began to draw people. There were many people under his brush. Some were his lovers, some were his close relatives, and some were his enemies. All of his memories were integrated into his Tao and drawn on the paper. He did not purposely seek for the truth, but gradually, the Tao charm of reality appeared in his paintings. It had been 15 years since he came to Bianliang. He had already refined 2 of the 7 colored arrow spirits. The mist of the true bridge could no longer obscure Ning Fan's eyes. For the first time in 15 years, Ning Fan felt the call of the true illusion river. At night, Ning Fan sat cross-legged in meditation in his room. His physical body was still at home, but his primordial spirit suddenly rolled up the storage bag and flew up to the night sky of Bianliang. The primordial spirit swayed and tore a hole in the night sky. It stepped in and disappeared into the night sky of Bianliang. Any cultivator who wanted to break through the bottleneck of the crossing truth realm would need their primordial spirit to leave their body and enter the heavenly Tao. At this moment, Ning Fan's primordial spirit was inside the heavenly Tao. What he saw was a long river that seemed both real and illusory. Ning Fan stood at the southern bank of the river. It was a barren land. The northern shore was lush with green grass. If one reached the northern shore, one could successfully break through to the Duzhen realm. That long river was called the True Illusion River, and the river was filled with fog that seemed both real and illusory. The current Ning Fan could already see through part of the mist with his eyes. There was not just one true bridge on the True Illusion River, but countless of them. With his current Jinxing, he could see 3,000 true bridges in the mist of the True River. None of the 3,000 true bridges were suitable for the Tao wielder to cross the True Illusion River. The true bridges on the True Illusion River have existed since the formation of the Heavenly Tao. The True Illusion River is not even a goose feather's surface. You can't fly across it, swim across it, or use a boat. You can only cross the river by stepping on the bridge. If you reach the northern shore, you will successfully cross the True Illusion River. You have to cross the bridge according to the great Tao that you cultivate. Now, I can see 3,000 true bridges on the True Illusion River. These 3,000 true bridges almost include most of the great Tao in the four heavens. Unfortunately, there are no true bridges of Tao wielder. Any cultivator who enters the True Illusion River won't be disturbed by the outside world, but it's extremely difficult to enter the inner part of the Heavenly Tao. I've only entered it once in 15 years of my life. Any cultivator only has 9 chances to cross the bridge. Now, I can't see the existence of the true bridges of Tao wielder. I'm afraid that I won't be able to cross the True Illusion River. What a pity. After a night, Ning Fan's primordial spirit withdrew from the inner part of the Heavenly Tao and returned to his body. It was impossible for him to enter the inner part of the Heavenly Tao again. The next morning, Zhao Dai came to visit Ning Fan to learn painting. She was already 15 years old and her hairpin ceremony would be held 3 days later. Other than learning painting, there was another reason why she came today. It was to inform Ning Fan that she was about to reach the age of 15. To ordinary girls, reaching the age of 15 meant that they had grown up and would soon get married. But to Zhao Dai, reaching the age of 15 meant that she would be accompanied by a green lamp forever and leave Bianliang City forever. She didn't want to get married. Her dream was to become a barbarian monk and protect the weak barbarians who were hurt by wild beasts. In Bianliang City, there were many aristocratic families who proposed marriage to her, but all of them were rejected by Zhao Boyang. Zhao Boyang wasn't an ordinary person. He knew that his daughter had great ambitions, so he naturally gave her his full support. The only problem was that in order to become a barbarian monk, one must go to a big city with a flourishing barbarian temple to learn barbarian techniques. There was only one barbarian monk in Bianliang City and his barbarian technique cultivation base was very weak. It was impossible for him to help his disciples sense the incense of the barbarian technique. Uncle, Dai, is about to reach the age of 15 and leave Bianliang soon. Will you miss me? Zhao Dai, stood beside Ning Fan and looked at the snowy scenery in front of her. On the 15th year, it was snowing lightly in Bianliang City. Red plum blossoms bloomed in the snow. Ning Fan was drinking wine and painting in the snow. As he had deliberately changed his appearance, his sideburns were already covered with frost. Zhao Dai, looked at his familiar back and the familiar scenery of the Bian River. Her heart felt a little sour and reluctant to part with him. She had grown up but her uncle was starting to grow old. She had finally reached the age of 15. She was finally going to leave her hometown and work hard to become a barbarian monk. However, why did she feel a little reluctant? I won't. Dai, just leave with peace of mind. I won't miss you. Ning Fan said with a smile. Liar. I don't believe it. Zhao Dai, stuck out her tongue. She didn't believe that Ning Fan wouldn't miss her. Uncle, if I become a barbarian monk, I won't be able to marry anyone for the rest of my life. Uncle, can you help me fulfill a small wish? Zhao Dai, asked carefully. What wish? Uncle, can you accompany me to wear wedding clothes, eat wedding cakes, ride on the wedding boat and light the wedding lanterns once? consider it as fulfilling my small wish before I leave. No. Why? Uncle has never rejected my request before. Why did you reject me this time? Zhao Dai sighed in disappointment. Ning Fan did not answer her. He just drank a mouthful of spiritual wine and put down the brush. His eyes were fixed on the red plum tree. Stingy. Zhao Dai murmured softly. Suddenly, her cheeks turned red and her face turned red. Ning Fan plucked a red plum flower and gently inserted it into her temple. Then, he said with a smile, "This plum flower will be your hairpin ceremony gift. I have some matters to attend to these few days. I'm afraid I won't be able to make it in time for your hairpin ceremony. Uncle isn't going to attend my hairpin ceremony." After hearing Ning Fan's words, Zhao Dai, who was a little shy, immediately became disappointed. Maybe I will come. Maybe I won't. After all, the remains of the thought-shredding savage beast aren't that easy to find. Ning Fan smiled helplessly. Thought-shredding savage beast. What kind of savage beast is that? Zhao Dai's beautiful eyes were filled with confusion. I'll tell you in the future. During these 3 days, Ning Fan was not at home. He had left the city. Zhao Dai came to look for Ning Fan, but she could not find him. When she heard that Ning Fan had left the city, she could not help but feel worried. The barbarian monks of Bianliang knew how to make the barbarian god jade pendant. As long as one wears the pendant, the chances of being attacked by the savage beasts would be reduced. However, it did not mean that one would be safe after sleeping. Zhao Dai did not know what Ning Fan was going to do outside the city. She did not know if Ning Fan had brought the barbarian god jade pendant with him. She was very worried. 3 days had passed and Ning Fan had yet to return. Today was Zhao Dai's hairpin ceremony. As the daughter of great scholar Zhao Dai's hairpin ceremony was naturally very grand. There were countless famous sects in Bianliang who came to attend the ceremony. Not only that, even the only barbarian monk in Bianliang, Great Master Man Qi, had made an exception to attend Zhao Dai's hairpin ceremony. Man Qi naturally would not attend the ceremony when the daughter of an ordinary family reached a marriageable age. However, Zhao Dai was different. She had looked for Man Qi before. According to Man Qi's evaluation, this female cultivator had an extremely high talent in barbarian cultivation. If she is taught by a famous monk, she would certainly become a famous monk in her lifetime and bring prosperity to the wilderness. Man Qi knew that he was not good enough to become Zhao Dai's master. Thus, he recommended Zhao Dai to go to the heavenly barbarian city to learn barbarian techniques. The Heaven Barbarian City was one of the top 10 great barbarian cities in the entire wild ancient region. There were a lot of barbarian monks there. The strength of their barbarian statues was enough to withstand the attacks of any savage beasts. I have already used my barbarian technique to inform a few friends in the Heaven Barbarian City that the barbarian temple there is also very interested in Zhao Dai's talent. It is said that this time, the barbarian temple of the Heaven Barbarian Temple will even send someone to Bianliang to bring this girl to the Heaven Barbarian City. It is enough to show that the barbarian temple of the Heaven Barbarian Temple values this girl. Man Qi thought to himself. Zhao Dai's hairpin ceremony was supposed to be happy, but she could not. She was still worried about Ning Fan's safety. She stared blankly at the guests who came to congratulate her. Even though there were many of them, the person she wanted to see the most was not there. Uncle, where did you go? Is what you are going to do more important than Dai's hairpin ceremony? Is Dai not important in your eyes? Zhao Dai sighed softly. Suddenly, she raised her head in disbelief as if she had sensed something. After her, Man Qi also raised his head. He had sensed something and looked towards the outside of the Zhao mansion. There was a trace of fear on his face. Outside the Zhao mansion, 12 black horses were galloping in the wind and snow. On each of the horses sat a black-robed monk. Hand over Zhao Dai. Otherwise, no one in this mansion will live. The guests who came to congratulate them sent their servants to find out who was so daring to make a ruckus outside the Zhao mansion. However, all the servants who were sent to investigate were killed by the 12 black monks without exception. Their blood splattered on the snowy ground. It's the black barbarian monks. The black barbarian monks who kill without blinking an eye. Why are they here? Some of the knowledgeable guests immediately revealed a look of fear. Among the barbarians, there was a special kind of barbarian who could invoke the power of incense to protect all living beings. They were called the barbarian monks. Most of the barbarian monks took the responsibility of protecting the common people. However, there were also a few barbarian monks who killed for the sake of their own lives. They were the black barbarian monks. No one knew where they heard about Zhao Dai's extraordinary innate talent. Today, they came here to kidnap her and force her to join the black barbarian monks. I'll count to 10. If the Zhao mansion doesn't hand over Zhao Dai, I'll bring my men and kill my way into the Zhao mansion. The leader of the 12 black monks, an evil old man, laughed evilly. However, he did not notice that there was a silver-haired little loli in the dark who was also laughing evilly. The immortal loli was very happy. It seemed like there was going to be another fight. Chapter 870. The black barbarian monks used the barbarian god Jade Pendant to protect themselves as they roamed the wilderness and plundered the cities. The black barbarian monks were all proficient in barbarian arts and knew how to use it to kill people. When they worked together, they could even fight against some weak beasts. The 12 black barbarian monks in front of them were all vicious and murderous. They were all demons who had killed countless people. Under the intimidation of the vicious aura, the faces of countless guests in the Zhao mansion turned pale with fear. Everyone knew that these 12 black barbarian monks had come for Zhao Dai, but not a single person dared to speak up for Zhao Dai, There were even some people who were as timid as mice who tried their best to be on good terms with the Zhao mansion. At this moment, they could not wait for the Zhao mansion to hand over Zhao Dai, to appease the black barbarian monks. It's the black barbarian monks. Looking at the dozens of servants' corpses on the snow, Zhao Boyang was like an angry King Kong, looking at the 12 black barbarian monks without fear. Others might be afraid of the black barbarian monks, but he was not. He had been a Confucian for a long time and was now 46 years old. He had already seen through life and death. He was not a coward who would hand over his daughter to the black barbarian monks. However, he also understood that the black barbarian monks were extremely powerful. They could easily fight against 10,000 ordinary people. Even if all the ordinary people in Bianliang City were added together, they might not be a match for the 12 black barbarian monks. You black barbarian monks, why are you targeting my daughter? Give me a reason. Zhao Boyang said in a deep voice. After many years of cultivation, he had some righteousness in his heart. His voice was dignified, causing the expressions of the 12 black barbarian monks to change slightly. The old monk who was the leader was the first to put away his surprise. When he realized that Zhao Boyang was just an old Confucian and not a barbarian monk, he laughed coldly and counted. 1. He naturally did not bother to answer any of Zhao Boyang's questions and started counting. After 10 breaths, if the Zhao mansion did not hand over Zhao Dai, he would definitely lead his men to massacre the Zhao mansion and even Bianliang City. I will not hand over my daughter. 2. Zhao Boyang wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, he was directly suppressed by the old barbarian monk. He looked at the black monk unwillingly. So what if he knew how to be polite? In front of the barbarian monk, he still had no power to resist. Father. Just as Zhao Dai was about to help her father up, Master Man Chi helped Zhao Boyang up first. He took out a barbaric pill and fed it to Zhao Boyang. When the old monk counted to 3, Man Chi passed through the crowd and walked towards the 12 black monks. His eyes were solemn. I am Man Chi, a barbarian monk of Bianliang. As long as I am alive, I will not allow anyone to touch the barbarians of this city. You? A few of the black monks revealed looks of disdain at the same time, and some of them snorted in disdain. Berserker Qi's attainment in the Berserker art was very low. Any one of the 12 black monks could easily kill Berserker Qi. The black barbarian old monk in the lead grinned with a cold killing intent and stopped counting. Man Qi's resistance had aroused his killing intent. If so, then there was no need to show mercy. He could directly slaughter the Zhao mansion and capture Zhao Dai. Ha, my Buddhist commandment blade only kills barbarian monks. Since you are seeking death, I will fulfill your wish. Qi. The black barbarian old monk's figure disappeared from the horse and appeared behind Man Qi. He turned his hand and stabbed the blade at Man Qi's back. His movement technique was too fast, beyond the eyesight of mortals. Even Man Qi could not see the old monk's movements clearly. His back was already emitting a cold blade qi. So fast. Man Qi was shocked. He knew that he was going to die and he was already in despair. However, no one expected that a silver-haired figure who was countless times faster than the black barbarian old monk actually stood in front of the Buddhist commandment blade. With a wave of her hand, the old monk's Buddhist commandment blade broke into 10 pieces with a cracking sound. Then, with another wave of her hand, the black barbarian old monk who was arrogant just now was thrown into the snow like a sandbag by the little loli. He fell heavily on the ground and breathed his last. The expressions of the remaining 11 black barbarian monks changed. They looked at the silver-haired little loli who was smiling sweetly on the snow as if she was a monster. Zhao Boyang, Man Qi, and countless guests and servants of the Zhao mansion were all dumbfounded. Even Zhao Dai, was in disbelief. Isn't that silver-haired little loli Ning Fan's nominal daughter, Ning Xianxian? This little girl is really powerful. She actually killed a black barbarian monk with a single move. Hee. Father didn't allow me to beat up the people of Bianliang or the wild beasts. However, he didn't say that I can't beat up these foreign bad monks. Why am I so powerful? I killed a bad monk in just a short while. Xian Loli's mouth was slightly open in disbelief. Just 2 years ago, as her lightning body continued to evolve, she lost more and more of her memories. Gradually, she no longer remembered who little Qianqian was. Gradually, she no longer remembered the relationship between her and Ning Fan. She really regarded Ning Fan as her father, herself as Ning Xianxian and Lu Yan as her mother. She also gradually forgot how powerful she used to be. It had been many years since she last beat someone. She was a little shocked when she killed a bad monk in just a short while. If father knows that I killed someone, I wonder if he will spank my butt. Xian Loli shivered. Even though Ning Fan had never hit her before, she had seen her neighbor's child getting beaten up. A spanking on the butt was really painful. You. Who are you? How dare you stop me, black barbarian, from doing something? Are you tired of living? Let's go together and kill this demoness. A black monk mustered up his courage and shouted. He was the first to get down from his horse. Then, the rest of the black monks also got down from their horses and rushed towards Xian Loli with their blades. I will be gentler this time. Xian Loli carefully waved her fist. Immediately, an invisible lightning force blasted out, sending the fastest black barbarian monk flying. That black barbarian monk crashed into the wall and collapsed a long section of the wall. He kicked his legs and breathed his last. I killed another bad monk. It's over. Father will definitely punish me heavily. Xian Loli's face was filled with tears. The remaining 10 black monks were so scared that their faces turned pale. All of them stopped in their tracks, turned around and ran away on their horses. They were really frightened by Xian Loli. Judging from her strength, killing them was simply child's play. This place was not suitable for them to stay for long. They must retreat. Xian Loli did not chase after them. Her small face was in a dilemma. She was afraid that she would accidentally kill someone again. Unknowingly, Lu Yan appeared beside Xian Loli. She stroked Xian Loli's head with a complicated expression and comforted her. Xian, don't be afraid. Your father will never punish you, mother, is what you said true? I'm not your mother. Lu Yan helplessly rubbed her forehead. She would never have thought that Xian Loli would have a memory disorder and recognize her as her mother one day. When she thought about how she had been pretending to be Ning Fan's wife for the past 15 years, she blushed. Her beautiful eyes looked at the 10 black monks who were running away and smiled mockingly. Lu Yen did not think that these black monks could escape because she could clearly feel that Ning Fan had returned. Just as the 10 black monks were galloping on the snowy path, a white-robed man's figure suddenly appeared in the night. He appeared in the snowy night just like that, blocking the path of the 10 black monks. His face was calm but his eyes flashed with cold light. He was Ning Fan who had returned. After all, he had watched Xiao Dai, grow up. He saw her as his junior. These black barbarian monks must pay the price for daring to lay their eyes on Xiao Dai, and kill people in the Zhao mansion. Ning Fan was obviously transforming into a mortal and it was not suitable for him to use his cultivation base. However, he insisted on sparing the lives of these black monks. No one could clearly see how he did it. The heads of the 10 black monks flew high up into the sky. Blood spurted out from their necks like fountains. The horses were frightened and scattered in all directions. The corpses of the 10 monks fell to the ground and their black blood stained the white snow. Black blood. Ning Fan frowned slightly. He casually grabbed a soul that mortals could not see and searched it. After that, he did not say anything else. He walked past the corpses of the monks and entered the Zhao mansion. At this moment, everyone in the Zhao mansion was dumbfounded. Barbarian monks were divine monks who could fight against savage beasts. No matter how high the internal strength and martial arts of the mortal world were, they should not be a match for barbarian monks. However, the scene of Xian Loli and Ning Fan killing barbarian monks like ants was just too shocking. Zhao Boyang was so shocked that he was speechless. He had never thought that Ning Fan, whom he had known for 15 years, was actually such a powerful person. Zhao Dai, was also shocked speechless. She never knew that Ning Fan, who only knew how to drink, appreciate plums and paint, was actually so powerful. Man Qi stared at Ning Fan in disbelief. Ning Fan's appearance had changed a lot during these 15 years. However, he could still recognize him at first glance. The person in front of him had once been to the barbarian temple in Bianliang. That year, he was carving a barbarian statue. However, just a glance from this person made him unable to move. Ning Fan smiled and walked towards Xiao Dai. He took out a bone pendant that was refined from the bones of a savage beast and handed it to her. This is the gift that uncle found for you. Take it. Soon, you will leave Bianliang and head to the heavenly barbarian city. This bone pendant can ensure your safety during your journey. Ning Fan's gaze then shifted to Zhao Boyang and his wife. He felt a little emotional. Brother Boyang, I heard that you will bring your family to the heavenly barbarian city in a few days. These 2 bone pendants are a token of my appreciation. Please accept them. I have been in Bianliang for 15 years. Today, I have used my cultivation base to kill people. I'm afraid I can't continue my mortal transformation anymore. It's time for me to leave Bianliang and see the scenery of the other barbarian cities. Ning Fan cupped his fists towards Zhao Boyang and sighed. Then, he brought Lu Yen and immortal Loli out of the Zhao mansion. Brother Ning, where are you going? Zhao Boyang was shocked. He never expected that Ning Fan would leave Bianliang after killing all the black monks. Zhao Dai's face turned pale. She had actually forgotten the reserved manner of a girl. She ran towards Ning Fan. Uncle, why do you want to leave Bianliang? Where are you going? Don't you want Dai anymore? Uncle wants to leave Bianliang to sort out the insights that I have gained in the past 15 years. Aren't you going to leave Bianliang soon? We will all leave. Since Uncle wants to leave Bianliang, can you go to Heavenly Man City with me? Zhao Dai looked at Ning Fan with hope. Heavenly Man City. Uncle will go and have a look. But not now. Dai has to work hard to become a powerful barbarian monk. Ning Fan smiled and stroked Zhao Dai's satin black hair. His eyes were gentle. In his eyes, Zhao Dai would always be the little girl in the past. He casually plucked a red plum flower and inserted it into Zhao Dai's temple. Then, he left after leaving a few words in her ear. In a few days, the Zhao mansion would leave Bianliang and move to Heavenly Man City. Ning Fan also planned to leave. Every grass and tree in Bianliang had been deeply imprinted in his heart. He still wanted to see more barbarian cities. The 3 jade pendants that he left for Zhao Dai's family were made from the remains of a thought-shredding barbaric beast that had died many years ago. The 3 barbaric bone jade pendants had great abilities. It would be easy for them to ensure the safety of their family. Zhao Dai stood blankly in the wind and snow. She carefully held the barbaric bone jade pendant in her palm. She felt a little sour in her nose. She was a little reluctant but also a little hopeful and expectant. The words that Ning Fan left for her before he left were still echoing in her ears. When Dai becomes a powerful barbarian monk, Uncle will certainly go to Heavenly Man City to see you. I will. Zhao Dai placed the barbaric bone jade pendant on her chest. Her beautiful eyes gradually became firm. Becoming a barbarian monk was her dream. She would certainly work hard for this dream. She would not let Ning Fan down. The snow did not stop along the way. Ning Fan walked in the snow with his hands behind his back. Lu Yan and Xian Loli followed behind him. They walked out of Bianliang City and walked along the official road. The boundless wind and snow were like a dense fog, making it impossible for people to see through the night sky. Ning Fan's eyes became blank for a moment. It was as if he was not looking at the wind and snow but the dense fog above the True Illusion River. Fog. Everywhere is covered with fog. The existence of the desolate land itself is like a fog. The existence of the 4 heavens and 9 worlds also seemed to be shrouded by a layer of fog. The great Tao of the heavens was also shrouded by a layer of fog. The closer they got to Duzhen, the more Ning Fan felt that he could not see through what was true. The closer they got to the Tao, the more they could not see the form of the Tao. Is there true in this world? Ning Fan looked up at the snowy sky and asked the question in his heart. Lu Yan, who had a low cultivation base, could not understand his question. Xian Loli, who had lost her memory naturally, could not understand it as well. Ning Fan seemed to be asking his own heart. At the same time, it seemed like he was asking the great Tao of the heavens. The only answer he got was the sound of the wind and snow, which was getting more and more urgent. No one answered him. He did not expect anyone to answer him either. He just continued to walk into the boundless snow and disappeared. What Ning Fan did not know was that when he uttered those words, a demon spirit emerged from the True Illusion River with a shocked expression on its face. That demon spirit was the river demon of the True Illusion River. Ever since the Heavenly Tao was formed, it had been residing in the True Illusion River. Its cultivation base was not high. It was lifeless, but it had spiritual intelligence. It had lived for a long time. It had seen too many cultivators crossing the True Illusion River. It had also seen too many cultivators falling from the True Bridge into the True Illusion River and failing to cross the True Illusion River. Its existence was to obey the order of the Immortal Sovereign. It was to obstruct the cultivators of the illusory dream world when they were crossing the True Illusion River. In his life, he had seen the True Illusion River flow in reverse 47 times. Just now, the 48th time had occurred. Another person has appeared in the illusionary world. He almost saw through the illusions of the heaven and earth dream. This person shouldn't have crossed the true path yet, not a true immortal. Otherwise, the True Illusion River wouldn't have just flowed in reverse just now, it would have definitely collapsed countless true bridges. Being able to vaguely see through the illusion of the illusory world before entering the true enlightenment realm. This kid is extraordinary. I wonder who he is. The astonished expression on the river demon's face gradually faded away. His body sank to the bottom of the river again. Out of nowhere, Ning Fan's figure appeared in his mind. That day, there was a junior, Du Zhen. He was able to see the 3,000 true bridges when he entered the inner part of the Heavenly Tao for the first time. Could he be the one who reversed the flow of the illusory river? 10 days later, the barbarian temple of the heavenly barbarians sent 7 barbarian monks to pick up the Zhao family and move them to the heavenly barbarian city. Along the way, the caravan was attacked several times by savage beasts, but strangely, all of these attacks stopped midway. All of the savage beasts that attempted to attack the caravan were frightened by an invisible tribulation force before they could even get close to the caravan. That tribulation force came from the barbaric bone jade pendant of Zhao Boyang and his family. The jade pendant contained the tribulation sense ability that Ning Fan had planted in it. 10 days later, Ning Fan and his group had already arrived at the ruins of Xiufu City along the official road. 1 month later, Ning Fan and his group arrived at a desolate valley. They found the camp of a black barbarian monk and slaughtered all of them. These black barbarian monks were the ones who had sent people to capture Zhao Dai. Ning Fan, of course, would not cut the grass without removing the roots. Another half a month later, Ning Fan arrived at a barbarian city called Yuan City and stayed there for half a month. Then, he headed to the next barbarian city. On the 21st year of his mortal transformation, Ning Fan refined the 3rd 7-colored arrow spirit. On the 28th year, Ning Fan refined the 4th 7-colored arrow spirit and entered the inner part of the heavenly Tao once again. This time, he saw 12,000 true bridges in the inner part of the heavenly Tao. Unfortunately, none of them could be used to cross the true enlightenment realm. He withdrew from the inner part of the heavenly Tao once again. He did not succeed in crossing the true enlightenment realm. Fortunately, as long as he did not step on the true bridge, it would not be considered as a failure in crossing the true enlightenment realm. It was not a big deal. On the 35th year, Ning Fan refined the 5th 7-colored arrow spirit. On the 42nd year, Ning Fan refined the 6th 7-colored arrow spirit. On the 49th year, Ning Fan refined the last 7-colored arrow spirit. The cultivation progress of the War Yin-Yang technique had already reached 100%. It was already at the initial stage. Ning Fan could unseal it at any time, just like the Yin-Yang rain. However, this was not the complete cultivation. Only when Ning Fan attained the late true enlightenment realm would he be able to completely devour the power of the Yin-Yang rain and War Yin-Yang. The spiritual wine brewed from the Tao-seeking fruit had already been finished by Ning Fan. His appearance had already turned into that of an old man in his 70s. In order to accompany Ning Fan in his mortal transformation, Lu Yan also turned into an old woman. Only Xian Loli remained in the appearance of a little girl. During the past 49 years, she had already consumed 90% of Ning Fan's lightning fragments. However, she was still far from achieving the complete evolution of her lightning body. Her memory became more and more chaotic. She even forgot who Lu Yan was and her name was Xian Xian. The only thing she remembered was Ning Fan's father. Every morning when she woke up, Xian Loli would lose all of her memory. She asked Ning Fan blankly, "Father, who am I?" "You are Xian Xian." "Father, who is she?" "She is Lu Yan." "Father, I am hungry, eat these lightning pills." Ning Fan condensed the lightning power of the lightning fragments. They were very sweet and Xian Loli loved to eat them. In the past, Ning Fan would not spend so much effort to condense a pill for an unfamiliar Loli. However, after spending so many years together, Ning Fan had developed deep feelings for Xian Loli. He did not have any children in his life. It was as if Xian Loli had really become his daughter. However, Ning Fan knew that once Xian Loli completed the evolution of her lightning body, she would regain her memory and become old monster Shikong again. The father-daughter relationship between him and Xian Loli would not last long. All of the 7-colored arrow spirits had been completely refined by him. Ning Fan walked out of the barbarian city and arrived at an uninhabited barbarian valley. He stayed there and waited for the next time he would enter the inner part of the heavenly Tao to attain the true enlightenment in one go. This time, Ning Fan was confident that he could see through all the mist and see all the true bridges. He must find the Tao enforcing true bridge among those true bridges and advance to the crossing truth realm. On the 50th year, Ning Fan finally heard the call of the true illusion river for the 3rd time and successfully entered the inner part of the heavenly Tao. This time, Ning Fan did not enter the heavenly Tao with his primordial spirit. Instead, he directly used his entire physical body to enter the heavenly Tao. Since the formation of the heavenly Tao, there were only 47 people who had achieved this. Ning Fan was the 48th person who had done it. When he came to the banks of the True Illusion River again, he finally saw through all the True Illusion mist. He saw 108,000 true bridges above the True Illusion River. 108,000 true bridges and 108,000 great Taos. However, there was actually no obsession among them. Very few people knew that there was no Tao enforcement bridge on the True Illusion River. The True River is unbridgeable. How could this be? Ning Fan's eyes flashed with surprise. He suddenly recalled Kei Shenxi's advice in the past. He advised him not to cross the True River. The True River is unbridgeable. Could this be the reason why Kei Shenxi advised him not to cross the True River? Ning Fan walked to the True Illusion River and looked at the surging river water. His eyes were extremely solemn. If there is no bridge, there is no way to cross this river at all. Touching the river water will result in failure, haha. I didn't expect that the Tao of a junior like you is actually Tao enforcing. It's actually the Tao beyond the heavens. How dare you try to cross the True River with just Tao enforcing? You're really making me laugh to death. A disdainful laughter suddenly resounded from the profound Yin world. Ning Fan bent his palm and took out a bow of sealing from the profound Yin world. His eyes flashed with cold light. The thing that was laughing at him was this bow of sealing, the bow spirit of the ancestral bow that he had seized from Du Longzi in the past. This bow spirit was sealed by him and it could not make any sound. However, it could communicate with Ning Fan through the connection between their minds. I'm as lonely as snow. I'm really as lonely as snow. I've actually been captured by a junior who can't cross the True River. Junior, with your cultivation base that can't cross the True River, you can't afford to offend the True Dragon Clan at all. I advise you to quickly release me and find me 7,000 to 8,000 beautiful women to serve me. Then, I can put in a good word for you in front of the Dragon Ancestor and ask the True Dragon Clan to spare your life. The bow spirit of the ancestral bow sounded like an old man. It had once followed the ancestral dragon to conquer the world and killed countless ancient old monsters. Thus, it was naturally arrogant. Even though it was captured by Ning Fan, it still spoke with boundless arrogance. Unfortunately, Ning Fan was not someone whom it could afford to offend. This bow spirit doesn't seem to have the awareness of becoming a captive, noisy. How could Ning Fan be courteous to the bow spirit? He directly pointed his finger at it. The power of the black and red barbaric flash immediately went into the ancestral bow. Sizzling sounds could be heard as it destroyed the bow wantonly. Immediately, the bow spirit of the ancestral bow let out a miserable shriek like a pig being slaughtered and cried for mercy. Spare my life, hero. I won't dare to speak nonsense anymore. Quickly stop using the barbaric flash. If you use it again, my bow spirit's body will be severely injured. I'll call you Grandpa. I'll call you Grandpa, alright? Stop now. I've seen the ancestral dragon build the true bridge before. I'll tell you the method to build a bridge and help you build a true Tao enforcing bridge to cross the true bridge. Please let me go. When he heard the last sentence of the ancestral bow, Ning Fan stopped using the barbaric flash. His eyes flashed and he looked at the ancestral bow in his hand. Build a bridge? That's right. If the true illusory river doesn't have a bridge, then I'll build a true bridge to cross the true bridge. So what? This true illusory river has to be crossed eventually. Tell me, how can I build a true Tao enforcing bridge? If your answer doesn't satisfy me, you know the consequences. When Ning Fan's cold words fell into the ancestral bow's ears, it immediately caused its mind to tremble and it could not help but shiver. It's as lonely as snow. I'm the dignified spirit of the ancestral bow. How could I fall into the hands of this evil star who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth? Build a bridge. Is a true bridge that easy to build? It said that it had seen the ancestral dragon build the true bridge before. But it was just nonsense that was 30% true and 70% false. When the ancestral dragon crossed the true bridge, it was also filled with difficulties. He wanted to take a shortcut and build a true bridge. However, he failed and could only settle for the next best thing. After cultivating for many years, he finally found his own true bridge and successfully crossed the true bridge. A true bridge could only be built by an immortal sovereign who created the world and created the heavenly Tao. Ning Fan was not an immortal sovereign. It was impossible for him to build a bridge on the true illusory river. Little Bao was just talking nonsense just now. In this world, there is no such thing as a true bridge. The Bao spirit of the ancestral Bao answered carefully. You're not going to tell me the truth. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. Once again, he released the barbaric flash. Immediately, the ancestral Bao let out a miserable howl like a pig again. Little Bao is telling the truth this time. What I said just now was just nonsense. There really is no such thing as a true bridge in this world. Spare me. Spare me, hero. Quickly stop using the barbaric flash. Hero, you can search my Bao's soul to see if I'm lying or not. Hero, you have demon spiritual power in your body. I can teach you the highest secret technique of the True Dragon Clan, Reverse Spirit Technique. In the entire True Dragon Clan, there are only a few old ancestors who are qualified to practice this technique. With this technique, you can search my Bao's soul and know that I'm not lying. After hearing what the ancestral Bao said, Ning Fan's eyes changed slightly. He stopped using the barbaric flash and murmured. Reverse Spirit Technique. The highest secret technique of the True Dragon Clan. Chapter 871. Reverse Spirit Technique was an ability that could reverse spiritual force and strengthen one's senses. It was one of the highest secret techniques of the True Dragon Clan. In the entire clan, there were only a few people who were qualified to cultivate this technique, and Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon was one of them. Ning Fan had heard of this technique before. Other than strengthening one's senses, the other ability of this technique was to aid in searching one's soul. If one were to learn this technique, they could read the other party's memories without destroying their spiritual intelligence. Moreover, ordinary soul-searching techniques could not read the memories of a weapon spirit, but the reverse spirit technique could do it easily. When he heard that Candle Bao wanted to teach him this technique, he immediately gave the ancestral Bao spirit a deep look. If he could learn this technique, he could use it to strengthen the senses of his spirit sense, and the range of his rain technique would also increase. Ning Fan was very interested in this technique. However, the timing of the ancestral Bao spirit's suggestion of imparting the reverse spirit art was a little abrupt. It seemed like it wanted Ning Fan to search his soul without destroying his spiritual intelligence, but it gave Ning Fan a feeling that it was lying. Are you sure that you want to teach me this technique? Ning Fan asked thoughtfully. His eyes flickered with green light as if he could see through all the thoughts of the ancestral Bao spirit. The ancestral Bao spirit felt guilty and smiled apologetically. Yes, of course, I'm sure. If a man learns the reverse spirit technique, he will naturally be able to search my soul and know if I'm lying or not. As soon as it finished speaking, the ancestral Bao spirit imparted the cultivation method of the reverse spirit technique to Ning Fan through the connection between their minds. At the same time, it was nervously thinking about other things. What it was thinking about was an escape plan. That day, when this malefic star targeted me, he planted a total of 10 layers of seals in my body. Those seals were connected to the Great Force. I couldn't break them at all with my current abilities. However, my spirit body is extremely special. If this person uses the reverse spirit technique to search my soul, I can absorb some of the reverse spiritual force to weaken the seals in my body. As long as these 10 layers of seals are weakened, I have a high chance of breaking the seals and escaping from the malefic star's control. AI, if it wasn't to escape from the evil hands of this malefic star, why would I impart the reverse spirit technique to this person? All of this is just a step in my escape plan. This old man is the Candle Bao spirit Bao. In order to escape, I actually used a scheme against a member of the younger generation. This old man's life is really as lonely as snow. While the Bao spirit was thinking about its escape plan, it did not know that its motive of imparting the reverse spirit technique had aroused Ning Fan's vigilance. However, since he had obtained a secret technique of the true dragon tribe for free, there was naturally no reason for him to abandon it. He did not expose the Bao spirit's intention. Instead, he sorted out the information that he had obtained about the reverse spirit technique. No matter what, he circulated his spirit power and began to cultivate the reverse spirit technique at the True Illusion River. The reverse spirit art was not difficult to cultivate and was divided into 7 realms. The first stage is the easiest to cultivate. As long as you have a spiritual wheel and have cultivated demon spiritual energy, you will be able to cultivate it. But from the second stage onwards, the requirement for demon spiritual energy cultivation becomes higher and higher. With Ning Fan's demon spiritual power, which was comparable to the early human profound realm, he could only cultivate the second level of the reverse spirit technique. The first stage of the reverse spirit art could increase one's spiritual force perception by 2 times. The second stage of the reverse spirit art could increase one's spiritual force perception by 4 times. In just half a day, Ning Fan had successfully cultivated the second stage of the reverse spirit art. After cultivating the second stage of the reverse spirit art, Ning Fan clearly felt that even though the realm of his spirit sense did not improve, his spiritual force perception was several times stronger than before. If my demon spiritual energy reaches the crossing truth realm, I will be able to cultivate the third stage of the reverse spirit art. Then, my spiritual force perception will increase exponentially again. The demon spiritual energy needs to be tempered by the spiritual will to cultivate the illusory power. The illusory power in this place is not weak. Unfortunately, I can't stay here for too long. Otherwise, if I enter seclusion here for tens of years, my demon spiritual energy will most likely break through to the crossing truth realm. Ning Fan looked at the east-flowing river and muttered to himself. The Bao spirit in his hand reminded him in a seemingly unintentional manner. Hero? Didn't you search Little Bao's soul? Don't you want to see if Little Bao is lying? Are you looking forward to me searching your soul? Don't ordinary people dislike having their souls searched? Yet, you are looking forward to it. Ning Fan asked expressionlessly. The Bao spirit stopped talking and felt a little guilty. Fine. Since you've spent so much effort to teach me the reverse spirit art, I will fulfill your wish and search your soul. Ning Fan circulated his demon spiritual energy and pointed at the ancestor Bao with one of his fingers. The ancestor Bao shook its body and immediately turned into the illusory figure of a hunchbacked old man. His body was covered with black and red seals. Then, he grabbed the top of the hunchbacked old man's head with one of his hands and performed the reverse spirit soul searching technique. Even though his soul was being searched, the hunchbacked old man felt incomparably comfortable. All the 130 million pores on his body opened up, enjoying the process of the soul searching. His face revealed a wretched and delighted smile. Awesome! The feeling of having my soul searched by the reverse spirit art is really awesome. The seals in my body have already weakened a little. While this fiend is searching my memories, I will quickly break the seals. Since the 10 layers of seals in his body had already been broken, the Bao spirit naturally would not be polite and quietly broke the seals in his body. Unfortunately, these little tricks did not escape Ning Fan's eyes. Ning Fan did not point it out and let the Bao spirit break the seals while he carefully read the Bao spirit's memories. This Bao spirit used to be the Bao spirit of a demon Bao called Candle Bao. Before the 4 heavens was established, it was once the magic treasure of the ancestral dragon Zhu Li, who cultivated in accordance with his nature and fate. The ancestral dragon Zhu Li founded the True Dragon Clan and was the common ancestor of all the future dragon ancestors. However, before the 4 heavens was formed, he had already died in a battle in a mysterious place called the Heavenly Desolate Ancient Realm. The Candle Bao was also destroyed in the battle in the Heavenly Desolate Ancient Realm along with the ancestral dragon Zhu Li. Only a trace of the Bao spirit was lucky enough to survive until today. What Ning Fan seized was the remnant of the Candle Bao that was not dead yet. Because the Bao spirit was damaged, its memories were not complete. Ning Fan could not read too many ancient secrets from its memories. Moreover, a part of the Bao spirit's memories was deliberately sealed. It was a seal that the Bao spirit set up on its own. It sealed the memories that it did not want Ning Fan to read. That memory contained its escape plan and other things. Ning Fan tried to break the Candle Bao's memory seal but failed. His reverse spirit art cultivation base was still too low. Even though he failed to break the seal, Ning Fan still saw some fragments of memories from the Candle Bao's sealed memories. Among those fragments of memories, there was the memory of the Bao spirit trying to break the seal and escape. There were also some other memories. One of the fragments of memories was the scene where the ancestor dragon Zhu Li told the Candle Bao spirit before he died, "Remember, you have to escape back to the true dragon clan and hand the key to the next dragon lord. The key has already been sealed by me. No one below the Saint Realm can break the seal by force. You are my Bao spirit and you have the chance to break the seal. If the future Dragon Lord wants to break the seal but his cultivation base isn't strong enough, you have to sacrifice your remnant spirit to help the future Dragon Lord to break the seal. Remember, remember." Ning Fan's expression changed slightly. He did not expect that he would read such a memory fragment from the Bao spirit's sealed memories. Key. It's the key again. The Eastern Demon Ancestor hid a key in the Heaven-Suppressing Bell, the Ancient Chaos Great Emperor hid a key in the Yin-Yang Locket and the Ancestor Dragon Zhu Li left a key for the future Dragon Lord. What exactly is the key? If he could tear the seal of the Bao spirit's memories, he would be able to know the truth about the key. However, with Ning Fan's reverse spirit technique cultivation base, it was impossible for him to tear the seal with his own strength. What if he threatened the Bao spirit to break the seal himself? Forget it. Let's not talk about the key for now. Let's take a look at the Bao spirit's memories, the scene where the ancestor dragon Zhu Li built a bridge to cross the true world. Ning Fan's mind shifted and began to read another part of the Bao spirit's memories. In this part of the memories, there was the scene of the ancestor dragon Zhu Li crossing the true world when he was young. The Tao that the ancestor dragon Zhu Li cultivated was the Tao of the Beyond Heaven. That Tao did not belong to the Samsara Tao created by the immortal sovereign. There was no corresponding Tao among the 180,000 bridges. The ancestor dragon Zhu Li had once tried to build a true bridge on the True Illusion River but failed. Left with no other choice, the ancestor dragon Zhu Li cultivated another great Tao and only then did he succeed in crossing the True Illusion River. In this world, other than the immortal sovereign who created the True Illusion River, no one else could build a true bridge on the True Illusion River. Not even the ancestor dragon could do it. The Bao spirit did not lie. It did not know the method of building a true bridge and had never heard of any cultivators other than the immortal sovereign realm who could build a true bridge. It only knew about ancestral dragon Zhu Li's plan to build a bridge, a failed plan. Except for the immortal emperor, no one has ever been able to build a true bridge on the True Illusion River. Am I no exception? Ning Fan's brows were tightly knitted together. He looked at the surging illusory river water in silence. No one could build another true bridge on the true river, so they could only cross the true bridge left behind by the Celestial Emperor. There was no bridge on the True Illusion River. How was Ning Fan, a cultivator with Tao persistence, going to cross the True Illusion River? Should he be like ancestor dragon Zhu Li, giving up his previous Tao and cultivating another great Tao? Ning Fan closed his eyes and let out a faint sigh. He could not let go of the Tao of obsession because this Tao was condensed from all the obsessions in his heart. This Tao was fused with the warmest memories in his heart, the most sincere feelings, and he was reluctant to let it go. If he gave up on the Tao and used other Taos to reach the true realm, he might be able to become a true realm cultivator, but he would no longer be Ning Fan. Since he couldn't give up on his Tao, did he have to give up on Duzhen? Should he stop at the Duzhen realm and become a Ghost Xian cultivator? Stopping at the Ghost Xian realm didn't seem to be a scary thing. If he gave up on the true realm using magical power, he could still cultivate the ancient devil essence Qi and ancient demon spiritual power. Perhaps his path of cultivation wouldn't be blocked because of this. However, if he couldn't reach the true realm, he wouldn't be able to cultivate the fourth transformation of his combat arts, which meant he wouldn't be able to complete the task entrusted to him by the Luo clan. Also, he wouldn't be able to reach the late true realm and cultivate the 27 yin-yang of the chaotic rings art. That was considered as giving up on the inheritance of the cultivation method given by ancient chaos. If he gave up on the true realm, he would be letting down the Luo clan and ancient chaos down. Great Emperor Ancient Chaos didn't hesitate to injure his illusory body to condense a heaven-grade fierce elemental crystal to help Ning Fan cultivate the yin-yang rain art and the chaotic rings art. Could Ning Fan really give up on the chaotic rings art? Giving up on the true realm seemed to be able to preserve his Tao persistence, but from another perspective, it would be letting down the persistence in his heart. Even so, Ning Fan would still feel guilty about his Tao heart. Even though his Tao persistence was preserved, cracks would also appear because of this. A mountain is a mountain because it doesn't move. A persistence is a persistence because it doesn't change. If he gave up on the Tao, his Tao would collapse. If he gave up on crossing the true river, his Tao heart would be damaged. If he forcefully crossed the true river, he would only end up in failure. If he was not careful, he might even lose his life. This was the dilemma that Kei Shensi was talking about. Ning Fan sighed softly. If his Tao was not stubbornness, there was no need for him to be obsessed with his heart. He could just abandon his Tao and cultivate other Taos instead without harming his Tao heart. Unfortunately, even though ancestral dragon Zhu Li could cultivate other great Taos as if no one else was around, he could not. Because he was Ning Fan. Because he was a Tao persistent cultivator, perhaps, a Tao obsession cultivator would be the last cultivator in the world to reach the true realm. Ning Fan stared at the surging waves of the river. All of a sudden, he understood something. On the surface, Du Zhen and Du Zhen were crossing the true illusion river, but they were also advising cultivators to let go of the obsession in their hearts and walk on the true bridge paved by the immortal emperor. Abandoning emptiness, still had to be abandoned, still had to be empty. Only by abandoning the obsession in one's heart and clearing one's Tao heart could one achieve success in cultivation. Only by breaking the obsession could one cultivate the Tao sense. There were 3 realms in the true immortal realm: Du Zhen, abandoning emptiness, and breaking thoughts. To put it bluntly, one had to constantly abandon the obsession in order to cultivate the so-called true Tao. If one were to let go of the obsession in one's heart, would the true Tao power that one obtained be still true? What is true? Are the 108,000 true bridges on the true illusion river the real thing? Is the obsession in my heart not the real thing? Is there any truth in this world? Ning Fan asked again. This time, the water of the true illusion river flowed in reverse again. The river that flowed in reverse contained a kind of determination to trace back to its source and seek the reason for its existence. Ning Fan's heart seemed to be infected by the river that flowed in reverse. He wanted to learn from the river and cultivate his own truth. These 108,000 true bridges are the true bridge built by the immortal emperor. They are not my truth. My truth is only obsession. If I abandon obsession, even if I achieve Du Zhen, I will certainly not be able to cultivate the true Tao. I must cross this true illusion river. I won't walk on the true illusion river that anyone has built for me. I want to build a true bridge with the obsession in my heart. Whether there is truth in this world or not has nothing to do with me. As long as I have the truth in my heart, that is enough. Ning Fan took a deep breath and his eyes were filled with determination. If others were to encounter such a dilemma, their Tao heart would certainly be shaken and tormented. If other cultivators failed to achieve Du Zhen, they might give up on their Tao. But Ning Fan would not. Ning Fan's personality had always been stubborn. Even if he knew it was impossible, he still wanted to do it. Even if there were millions of people, he would still go forward. He would neither give up on Du Zhen nor give up on his Tao. He wanted to build a bridge on the true illusion river. Other than the immortal emperor, no one had ever been able to build a true bridge on the true illusion river. If Ning Fan tries to build a bridge, he would most likely fail. However, he still wanted to give it a try. How could he be willing to give up so easily? In Candle Bao's memory, when the ancestral dragon Zhu Li created the true illusion bridge, he divided the entire bridge building plan into 3 steps. The first step is to sacrifice billions of remnant souls of the demon race to the true river. using the remnant souls to gather the illusory mist, then using the mist to build the stone bridge. If the stone bridge is completed, the first step will be completed. However, this stone bridge is still not a true bridge. If I want to build a true bridge, I need to complete the second step, which is to strip the Tao illusion from the stone bridge and leave only the Tao truth behind. When all the illusions are destroyed, the stone bridge will become a true bridge. The third step is to step on the true bridge and cross the true river. The reason why the ancestral dragon Zhu Li failed to build the true bridge was because he failed in the second step. At that time, he successfully built a stone bridge. However, that stone bridge was not a true bridge and it could not cross the true bridge. He tried to complete the second step and turn the stone bridge into a true bridge. However, he could not completely strip the Tao illusion from the stone bridge. In the end, he had no choice but to give up. Even though the ancestral dragon Zhu Li failed in building the bridge, I can use his 3 steps as a reference. The first step is to build a stone bridge on the true illusion river. In order to build the stone bridge, I need billions of remnant souls to be sacrificed. Ning Fan's gaze shifted to the candle bow in his hand and smiled. When he finished searching his soul, the bow spirit had already returned to its original form. From the candle bow's bow spirit, he could sense the remnant soul power of 1 billion true dragon demons. They had already been crystallized by the bow spirit. These remnant souls were originally the sacrificial offerings that the true dragon clan offered to the bow spirit. Their purpose was to nourish the bow spirit's spirit body. Now, however, they could be used to build the bridge. At this very moment, the bow spirit was desperately trying to break the seal in its body, daydreaming about breaking the seal and escaping. While Ning Fan was searching its soul, the seal in the bow spirit's body weakened and it broke 5 layers of the seal in a row. While Ning Fan was pondering, the bow spirit broke the other 2 layers of the seal. There were only 3 remaining layers of the seal in its body. Hee hee. What a foolish junior. I bet you wouldn't have thought that the reason why I taught you the reverse spirit technique is just so that I can escape from this place. There are only 3 layers of the seal left. In just an hour, I will be able to break the seal completely and escape from this place. Once I break the seal, with the strength of my spiritual body, even if this malefic star knows the Eastern Demon Ancestor's heaven sealing technique, he won't be able to seal me again. Sigh. Looking at the time, I have already been sealed by this malefic star for 50 years. I really miss the ancestral soul pond. In the past, when I lived in the ancestral dragon pond, there would be true dragon clan cultivators who would capture human female cultivators and throw them into the pond for me to play with. Hee hee. It has been 50 years since I last touched a woman. This time, I must ask Du Longzi to send me some peerless beauties to enjoy after I escape back to the northern region. I'm afraid there won't be any treasure spirit in this world that can live a carefree and happy life like me. When I'm drunk, I lie on the knees of beauties, and when I'm sober, I wield human rights. My life is really as lonely as snow. There are only 3 layers of the seal left. Hee hee. Beauties, I'm coming back soon. The bow spirit was laughing in a carefree manner. All of a sudden, it became dumbfounded and nearly spurted out a mouthful of blood. When there were only 3 layers of the seal left, Ning Fan casually waved his hand and strengthened the seal. After being strengthened, there were a total of 108 layers of the seal. It was so strong that it was inhumane. In the past, there were only 10 layers of the seal. The bow spirit could not break them. It could only use the reverse spirit technique to weaken the seal, and only then would it have a slight chance of breaking the seal. Now, there were 108 layers of the seal. No matter how Ning Fan uses the reverse spirit technique on the bow spirit or how he weakens the seal, the bow spirit would not be able to seize the opportunity to break the seal. 108 layers of the seal. No. Malefic star. You despicable and shameless malefic star. You have gone too far. I'm about to break the seal, but you actually strengthened it. Shameless. Shameless. The cry of the bow spirit resounded in Ning Fan's mind for a long time. Ning Fan naturally did not have the mood to care about the bow spirit's grief and indignation. His eyes turned cold and he reached out with a backhand gesture. He directly activated his ability and extracted a blood-red remnant soul crystal from the Bao spirit's body. That was the soul crystal condensed by the Bao spirit with 1 billion dragon souls. It was used to nourish the spirit body. Now, this soul crystal belonged to Ning Fan. Seeing that Ning Fan not only strengthened the seal but also took away the soul crystal that was used to nourish the spirit body, the Bao spirit became even more indignant. It directly cursed in Ning Fan's mind. If you continue to curse me, I will directly refine you into a treasure and destroy your Bao spirit. I think you can refine a pretty good Bao with that. Ning Fan's tone became solemn and his eyes flashed with a hint of killing intent. In the Bao spirit's memory, there was a memory about the key. To Ning Fan, it still had some uses. Thus, he decided to keep it for the time being. However, if this Bao spirit really does not know what's good for it, Ning Fan would not be courteous to it. He would give up on the information about the key and directly kill it. Sensing Ning Fan's undisguised killing intent, the Bao spirit shuddered for no reason. Even though it was indignant, it did not dare to curse anymore. Seal. Seeing that the Bao spirit was sensible, Ning Fan did not waste any more time talking to it. He temporarily sealed it and threw it back to the profound Yin world. He decided to build a bridge to cross the true illusion realm first. After that, he would pry out the information about the key from the Bao spirit's mouth. Holding the soul crystal in his hand, Ning Fan looked at the surging river in front of him with a determined look in his eyes. The water of the true illusion river had returned to normal and flowed eastward again. Ning Fan sat cross-legged at the riverside of the true illusion river. He waved his hand and took out the soul crystal in his hand. Then, he formed a hand seal with all 10 of his fingers and muttered some incantations. Rays of blood-red dragon souls flew out from the soul crystal and connected with each other above the true illusion river, forming an illusory blood-red soul bridge. As Ning Fan bent his palm and beckoned, the mist of the great Tao above the true illusion river immediately fused into the soul bridge. The illusory soul bridge gradually turned into a blood-red stone bridge. As time passed, the blood-red color gradually turned green. Half a day later, a bluestone stone bridge that vaguely let out a dragon roar was built above the true illusion river. At the moment the bluestone stone bridge was formed, the river demon hiding at the bottom of the true illusion river immediately wore a solemn expression. This young man actually wants to form a bridge above the true river. Moreover, he has already formed a stone bridge. Is he trying to break the true law of heaven and earth? No one had ever been able to form a bridge above the true river. It was not because of insufficient power but because the laws of heaven and earth did not allow it. The heavenly Tao was the heavenly Tao that was created by the immortal sovereign himself. No one could go against the will of the immortal sovereign and form a bridge above the true river. The river demon did not think that Ning Fan had the ability to go against the will of the immortal sovereign. Ever since I've been guarding the true illusion river, I've seen a total of 47,941 cultivators trying to build a bridge above the true river. However, all of them failed without exception. No one could go against the will of the immortal sovereign. No one could build a bridge above the true illusion river. This young man could enter the inner part of the heavenly Tao with his physical body and make the water of the true illusion river flow in reverse twice. It's enough to show that he's extraordinary. In the illusionary world, there are only 47 people who could do this. Without a doubt, this young man is the 48th person. However, it's a pity that this man's Tao is stubbornness. There's no bridge above the true river. His attempt to build a bridge will also fail in the end. Unless this young man gives up his stubbornness, otherwise, he will never be able to cross the true river in this lifetime. Crossing the true river, crossing the true river. The word crossing originally has the meaning of giving up one's stubbornness. Only by giving up the southern bank can one reach the northern bank. There's no gain without loss. That's the Tao. He Yao sighed softly and shook his head without saying another word. Even though Ning Fan had used 1 billion dragon souls to build the stone bridge, he did not think that Ning Fan had the ability to strip the Tao illusion from the stone bridge and build a real bridge. The stone bridge was not sturdy. If someone steps on it before it becomes a real bridge, the bridge would certainly collapse. Ning Fan's eyes sparkled with green light. He stared at the stone bridge in silence. He had already completed the first step of building the bridge. The second step was to strip the Tao illusion from the stone bridge. He had already opened the first gate of the heavenly being realm. With his eyesight that was as one with the world, it was not difficult for him to see through the Tao illusion in the bridge. However, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to remove the Tao illusion. Just as he waved his hand to remove the first trace of the Tao illusion, he was immediately suppressed by the entire heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao did not allow cultivators who were not at the immortal sovereign realm to remove the Tao illusion and build a real bridge. It was as if there was a consciousness that came from the heavens pressing down on Ning Fan's body. In just an instant, Ning Fan coughed out blood and was forced to retreat. He had no choice but to give up on removing the Tao illusion. At the center of the true illusion river, a purple-golden whirlpool suddenly appeared. Inside the whirlpool, an aurora flashed and a heavenly Tao purple lock flew out at lightning speed and bound Ning Fan's body. The speed of the purple lock was too fast. It was so fast that Ning Fan could not dodge it in time. As soon as he was bound by the purple lock, he immediately lost his mind and sank into the illusions. The power of the purple lock originated from the whirlpool in the river. In the world of Ning Fan's mind, illusions appeared one after another. Perhaps it was because he was passing through the truth in the desolate mountain. The scenes in those illusions were actually the ancient desolate mountain. With the power of the illusions, Ning Fan seemed to have returned to the ancient desolate region in the ancient times. In those illusions, Ning Fan was no longer a human. Instead, he was a barbaric bull that was chained to the foot of the Li mountain by the purple lock. He was not the only barbaric bull that was chained to this place. There were millions of barbaric bulls that were chained to this place. Each of the barbaric bulls was tied up by a heavy purple golden chain. They were struggling at the foot of the Li mountain, unable to move even an inch. Our barbaric bull clan has offended the Calamity Envoy and was exiled to the foot of the Li mountain. An inch of purple lock is equivalent to an inch of the mountain. The weight of this purple lock is comparable to the entire Li mountain. Carrying this purple lock makes it hard for us to move even an inch. We will never be able to regain our freedom in this lifetime. Legend has it that when the water of the Yellow River is clear, 1 liter of clear water can dissolve the purple lock. If there is a barbaric bull that walks 10,000 li and reaches the Yellow River, there is a chance for him to break the seal of the purple lock. Unfortunately, the purple lock is too heavy. No barbaric bull can carry the purple lock to the Yellow River. Countless barbaric bulls sighed helplessly. They were powerless to resist their fate. Only the barbaric bull that Ning Fan had transformed into had an unwavering gaze. I didn't expect to be attacked by the heavenly Tao purple lock after stripping off the Tao illusion. Even my mind is bound, causing such an illusion to appear. If one walks to the Yellow River and fetches a liter of clear water, one can dissolve the purple lock that binds one's mind. In a trance, the ballad that Zhao Dai, once sang rang in Ning Fan's ears. Little barbaric bull, don't look back. Fight for freedom against the heavens. You won't give up until you see the Yellow River, but the water of the Yellow River is not clear. Perhaps, even if he walked 10,000 miles to the bank of the Yellow River, he wouldn't be able to get a liter of clear water from the muddy Yellow River. He wouldn't be able to melt the purple locket and obtain freedom. However, if he didn't give it a try, he would have even less hope of obtaining freedom. Where is the Yellow River? Ning Fan asked the other barbaric bulls. When they heard that Ning Fan was planning to carry the violet lock to the Yellow River, many of the barbaric bulls immediately laughed. They did not think that Ning Fan had the strength to go to the Yellow River. Only an old barbaric bull told Ning Fan the location of the Yellow River, but he didn't think that Ning Fan could reach the Yellow River. The purple locket on Ning Fan's body was too heavy. Even an intermediate Dujin cultivator would find it hard to move half a step under the weight of the purple locket. Unfortunately, Ning Fan's strength was already higher than the intermediate Dujin realm. Even though it was difficult to move his feet, he still struggled to take the first step. Although his pace was slow, he was walking towards the north of the Yellow River step by step. Why Why can this bull bear the weight of the purple locks? Is he going to the Yellow River? If you can get a liter of water from the Yellow River, you will be able to melt the purple lock and regain your freedom. He actually has a chance to regain his freedom. Why can he do it, but we can't? Other than Ning Fan, no other barbaric bull could bear the weight of the purple locks. On the peak of Li Mountain, an early Dujin old man with scarlet eyes suddenly opened his eyes, revealing a surprised look. There is actually a barbaric bull that can withstand the might of the tribulation lock. That astonishment then turned into killing intent. The old man grinned, revealing his white teeth. He was the tribulation messenger of heaven and earth. Since he had sent down the heavenly punishment, he would not allow anyone to escape from it. Does this bull want to go to the Yellow River? Unfortunately, I won't give it the chance to go there. The old man suddenly stood up and waved his palm. The black-red tribulation force condensed into a black-red lightning in the middle of his palm. Heavenly tribulation, descend. That black-red lightning was the true heavenly tribulation. It was completely different from the heavenly tribulation of the cultivation world in the future. The old man waved his hand to summon the lightning. The sky above Li Mountain was immediately filled with black-red tribulation clouds. The tribulation lightning rumbled and struck towards Ning Fan. That tribulation lightning was enough to easily kill an early Dujin cultivator. Before the tribulation lightning could reach Ning Fan, it was suddenly dispersed by a furious bull roar, extinguishing the lightning. The barbaric bull that Ning Fan had transformed into glared at the tribulation lightning in the heavens. He activated the tribulation blood in his body, causing the tribulation might on his body to be even stronger than the tribulation lightning. With just a glance, the tribulation clouds between heaven and earth immediately collapsed. Ning Fan turned his head and looked at Li Mountain. With just a glance, that early Dujin old man coughed out blood and retreated. His eyes were filled with fear. Impossible. How can a low-grade barbarian race have the Taitsung tribulation spirit? I can't provoke it. This bull's strength far surpasses mine. If I provoke it again, I'll definitely die. Chapter 872. After being frightened by Ning Fan's ability, how would that elderly tribulation messenger still dare to attack Ning Fan? Not only did he not dare to attack Ning Fan, but he also showed a terrified expression. He immediately flew up from the peak of Li Mountain and landed in front of Ning Fan. He half knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Ning Fan. Fan Lianyun, the Fan family's calamity emissary, did not know the identity of the upper realm's calamity venerables and attacked without reason, offending them. Please forgive me, calamity venerables. Even though Ning Fan's current appearance was just a barbaric bull, the elderly tribulation messenger did not dare to offend him. Ning Fan's strength terrified him. However, what terrified him even more was Ning Fan's identity as the Taitsung tribulation spirit. In Fan Lianyun's eyes, Ning Fan possessed the calamity blood. Thus, he was the calamity spirit of Taitsung. He was an existence that he could not afford to offend no matter what. Fan Clan's tribulation emissary. Upper realm tribulation venerable, Ning Fan pondered over the message of the elderly calamity messenger and fell into deep thought. He was pulled into a mental illusion by the heavenly Tao purple lock. The people and things in the illusion were all deductions and illusions of the heavenly Tao of the primordial wilderness. They did not truly exist. This calamity envoy named Fan Lianyun should be an ancient cultivator from the immemorial desolate land. Everything in front of him was an illusion. Although it was an illusion, it contained some ancient secrets. What's a tribulation lord of the upper realm? What was the Fan family? What are calamity messengers? Ning Fan asked expressionlessly, trying to pry some ancient secrets from Fan Lianyun. Tribulation Venerable must have just awakened his Jia blood, so he must have many questions about the wilderness. In the wildlands, any living being that had awakened their tribulation blood would become a tribulation spirit of the grand firmament. Once they ascended to the upper worlds, they would become tribulation lords of the upper worlds. The Fan family was the largest family in the wilderness. They obeyed the orders of the tribulation venerables of the upper realms and ruled the wilderness. We cultivators of the Fan clan are the tribulation emissaries of the lower realm. We cultivate the tribulation sense technique and are responsible for raising barbarian slaves. The patriarch of the Fan clan is the barbarian ancestor. He has been cultivating the tribulation technique for 1,000,000 years. I think it won't be long before he can cultivate the tribulation blood and become a tribulation venerable of the upper realm. Fan Lianyun answered respectfully. Ning Fan remained silent for a while. The savage desolation ancient domain was once the place where the tribulation spirit of Taitsang in the upper world raised barbarian slaves. No wonder this savage desolation ancient domain is related to tribulation in every aspect, yet it doesn't seem like it. The head of the Fan family is the barbaric ancestor. The barbaric ancestor scripture advises barbarians to submit to adversity. It must be because he wants to help Taitsang tribulation spirit to raise a batch of docile barbarian slaves. There are no longer any tribulation emissaries or Fan clan left in ancient savage wilderness domain. But why? Ning Fan turned his head and wanted to ask Fan Lianyun some more questions, but he saw that Fan Lianyun's illusory body suddenly dissipated little by little and turned into light spots before disappearing. The reason why the heavenly Tao created the ancient desolate illusory realm was just to imprison Ning Fan's mind and prevent him from removing the Tao illusion of the stone bridge. However, it was not willing to let Ning Fan know too many ancient secrets. This was also a kind of protection that the heavenly Tao gave to the junior cultivators. There were some ancient secrets that cultivators who had yet to enter the true realm would definitely die if they heard it. Without the corresponding strength, they wouldn't be qualified to know about it. From now on, it would be very difficult for Ning Fan to find out more ancient secrets from the illusory realm. Any ancient living beings that he inquired about would have their illusory bodies dissipate. Forget it. I'll head north to the Yellow River first and use the water of the Yellow River to dissolve the purple locks. Once the purple locks are dissolved, I will be able to leave the illusory realm. Ning Fan lowered his bull head and carried the heavenly Tao purple locks that were as heavy as Li Mountain on his back. With his slow speed, he could only travel half a li in a day. In a year, he could only travel less than 200 li. The distance between Li Mountain and the Yellow River was 10,000 li. With his barbaric bull body and the weight of the purple locks, he had no idea how long it would take for him to walk. Ning Fan could feel that even though the sun and moon were changing and time was passing in the illusory realm, only a few moments had passed in the outside world. The scorching sun was high in the sky and he was moving forward. The north wind was howling and he was moving forward. Day and night were changing but his footsteps had never stopped. Only a few moments had passed in the outside world, but 50 years had passed in the illusory realm. After 50 years of trekking, Ning Fan finally arrived at the bank of the Yellow River. Looking at the muddy river water that was surging like a dragon, he frowned and remained silent. Rumor has it that a liter of clear water from the Yellow River could dissolve the heavenly Tao purple locks. However, how could there be any clear water in this river that was filled with countless silt? Green light flashed in Ning Fan's eyes. The reason why the Yellow River was muddy seemed to be not just because of the silt. The river water seemed to contain a will that could pollute the lives of the common people. It was because of this will that the silt was attracted to the river, causing the water of the Yellow River to become muddy. There's a cultivator under the river. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. He lifted his hoof and stomped heavily. With his strength, a stomp from the barbaric bull form was enough to trample millions of li of mountains and rivers into ruins. However, due to the protection of the will, the water of the Yellow River actually negated the force of Ning Fan's stomp. This stomp only caused the river to change its course. Cultivator under the river, come out and see me. Ning Fan said in a deep voice. In the dragon palace at the bottom of the Yellow River, a barbaric dragon that was in seclusion was startled when it heard that the river had changed its course. It immediately broke out of the water and transformed into a white-bearded old man. He landed in front of Ning Fan. He was also a tribulation emissary of the Fan clan. His duty was to guard the Yellow River. His eyes were burning with anger. He was angry because someone from the barbarian wilderness had stepped on the Yellow River and caused it to change its course. However, when the white-bearded old man realized that it was Ning Fan who did that, he was immediately shocked and showed a terrified expression. The white-bearded old man felt a suffocating pressure from Ning Fan's body. That pressure came from the tribulation blood in Ning Fan's body. This barbaric bull is actually the Tai Tsung tribulation spirit. The white-bearded old man swallowed his saliva and knelt on the ground in fear and trepidation. He did not dare to meet Ning Fan's eyes. Fan Yuchi, the tribulation emissary of the Fan clan, greets the venerated tribulation of the upper world. May I know what orders venerated tribulation has for me? Let me ask you, how can I make the Yellow River clear? Venerated tribulation wants to use the clear water of the Yellow River to dissolve the shackles. The white-bearded old man was slightly stunned and then said with a bitter smile. If venerated tribulation has come for this matter, I have to tell you a piece of bad news. The water of the Yellow River will never be clear. Why? Because this Yellow River is formed from a trace of tribulation intent left behind by that lord. It has the will to pollute everything. As long as the will isn't extinguished, the Yellow River will never be clear. Fan Yuchi's expression immediately turned fearful when he mentioned that lord. Fortunately, this was just an illusion. Otherwise, he would lose his life just thinking about that lord with his current cultivation base. Ning Fan's expression immediately changed. Other than the Lord of Tribulation intent, who else could it be that was unimaginable? The river water contained the will of the Lord of Tribulation intent to pollute everything. The heavenly Tao purple shackles on Ning Fan's body also contained the will of immortal Emperor Zido. Actually, it's not that there's no clear water in the Yellow River. It's said that the source of the Yellow River has water that's as clear as a mirror. However, it's extremely far away. Even if I fly with all my might, it will still take me a few months to reach the source of the Yellow River. Now that venerated tribulation is carrying a heavy shackle, I'm afraid that it'll take a long time for him to reach there. Moreover, it's said that the Lord left behind an extremely strong will at the source of the Yellow River. Ordinary living beings can't even get close to the source of the Yellow River. The white-bearded old man added. Ning Fan remained silent for a while. After dismissing the white-bearded old man, he walked along the Yellow River alone. The source of the Yellow River was extremely far away. Even a mid-true crossing realm cultivator would need a few months to reach there. If it was Ning Fan who carried the purple shackles on his back, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to reach the source of the Yellow River without millions of years. Fortunately, this place was an illusory realm. Even if he spent millions of years in the illusory realm, it would only be a moment in the outside world. In this place, Ning Fan didn't need to worry about the consumption of time. However, he couldn't cultivate in the illusory realm either. He buried the bull's head and walked along the river with heavy steps. In a year, he would travel no more than 200 li. In 100 years, he would travel no more than 20,000 li. In 10,000 years, he would travel no more than 2 million li. Ning Fan had forgotten how long he had walked, how much blood and sweat he had left behind and how many years he had gone through. The passage of time in the illusory realm was meaningless to the improvement of his cultivation base. After 100,000 years of traveling alone, Ning Fan still hadn't seen the source of the Yellow River. After 1,000,000 years of hard work, Ning Fan still hadn't seen the source of the Yellow River. 5 million years later, a large snowy mountain finally appeared in front of Ning Fan. The source of the Yellow River was in the valley surrounded by snowy mountains. Outside the valley, there was a strong will that forbade anyone from entering the valley to search for the source of the Yellow River. If it was Ning Fan in the past, he certainly wouldn't be able to resist such a strong will. However, in the illusory realm, Ning Fan had turned into a barbaric bull and carried heavy chains on his back, trudging arduously for 5 million years. 5 million years of hardship did not bring any improvement to Ning Fan's cultivation base. Instead, it continuously tempered Ning Fan's indomitable will. He used his bull's horns to hit the invisible will barrier outside the valley. His footsteps became slower and it became more difficult for him to walk. At the same time, he was being suppressed by the wills of immortal sovereign Zido and the Lord of Tribulation intent, making it difficult for him to even breathe. However, he still didn't stop moving. The obsession in his eyes had already become indestructible after 5 million years of hard work. I want to enter the valley. Against the willpower of the two peerless experts, Ning Fan stepped on the snow that was up to his knees. He gritted his teeth and walked stubbornly into the valley. What entered his sight was an icy lake that was filled with frigid qi. This icy lake was the source of the Yellow River. The water of this icy lake was crystal clear. However, the coldness of the water made Ning Fan shiver uncontrollably. When Ning Fan approached the lakeside and got close to the lake, he was shocked. He saw a tree at the center of the icy lake. It was an ice tree that was rooted at the bottom of the lake. The appearance of the ice tree looked like a Bodhi tree, but it wasn't exactly the same. The branches of the tree were filled with six-edged white flowers that gave off a cold fragrance. Just by smelling the fragrance of the white flowers, the heavenly life green qi in Ning Fan's body actually increased a little. His cultivation base of the unity of heaven and man had improved. This increase was fake. It was an illusion in the illusory realm. If he gets out of the illusory realm, the amount of heavenly life green qi would still be the same as before. Even so, Ning Fan was still shocked. He guessed that this ice tree was most likely the great fortune that Kei Shensi mentioned in the past. It could raise the cultivation base of the heavenly life realm. He didn't expect that Ning Fan could actually turn into a barbaric bull and meet this tree in the illusory realm. The barbaric bull of the lower world can actually withstand the will of the Tribulation Lord and come to the Chen tree. A woman's voice that sounded unfamiliar yet familiar suddenly came from Ning Fan's back. That voice carried a coldness that kept people 1,000 miles away, but it didn't carry any hostility. Ning Fan's heart skipped a beat for no reason. He turned around and looked at the person who spoke. What he saw was a lady in red dress standing on the snow-covered land beside the ice lake. That lady's qi was extremely strong. It was even stronger than Xiang Bozi's qi. There were red lightning crackling around her body. Her eyes and lips were blood red. She was wearing a red dress. Standing in the snow, she looked like a beautiful red plum blossom. That lady's appearance was very similar to Hong Yi's, but there seemed to be some differences. You also have tribulation blood in your body. Are you also the Taitsang tribulation spirit? Only then did the lady in red notice the tribulation blood in Ning Fan's body. She couldn't help but reveal a look of interest. Interesting. I didn't expect that there is another Taitsang tribulation spirit who intends to betray the Tribulation Lord and steal the Qin flower other than me. You little bull are very interesting. The lady in red robes approached Ning Fan. She reached out her cold and smooth palm and stroked Ning Fan's ox spine. Ning Fan looked at the lady in disbelief. The lady's appearance gradually overlapped with the image of Hong Yi in his mind. You are Hong Yi? Hong Yi? No, I'm not Hong Yi. I'm the Red Yaksha. But the name Hong Yi isn't bad. The lady in red smiled seductively. She tapped the snow with the tip of her toes and landed lightly under the ice tree at the center of the lake like a red butterfly. The nutrients of the Chen tree are the mortal fate of all living beings. The Qin flower blooms once every 5 million years. After it blooms, it will fall. I'm close to opening the second gate of the heavenly being realm and I need this flower. I'm afraid I can't let you have it, little bull. Speaking of which, even if I let you have these Qin flowers, you won't be able to take them away. You have never followed the Tribulation Lord before. Thus, you don't know that plucking the Qin flower requires a special immortal art. If you don't know this immortal art, you won't be able to pluck the Qin flower from the Qin tree. The Qin flower belongs to me. All the water in the ice lake belongs to you. Originally, I wanted to take the lake water as well. However, judging from your appearance, it seems like you really need the lake water to dissolve. So, I'll let you have it. As soon as the lady finished speaking, she did not look at Ning Fan again. Instead, she activated the tribulation sense power with her bare hands and formed a series of mysterious hand seals. After forming hundreds of hand seals, she carefully reached out her hand to pluck the 6-edged white flowers and put them into her mouth. After consuming all of the white flowers, the red-clothed woman giggled and flew away. However, before she left, she still gave Ning Fan a glance with interest. She was very interested in this little bull who trespassed into the snow valley. she left. However, she did not know that Ning Fan had memorized all the hand seals she used to pluck the Chen flowers. If Ning Fan really follows Kei Shensi to search for the Chen tree and pluck the Chen flowers in the future, he would certainly use these hand seals. She's not Hong Yi. She's the Red Yaksha. The Red Yaksha. The innate lightning spirit that I killed that day said that I'm the slave of the Red Yaksha. It said that both of us are traitors of the Taitsang tribulation spirit. Could it be that what I just saw was the scene where the Red Yaksha betrayed the Taitsang tribulation spirit? The Red Yaksha. She must have some kind of relationship with Hong Yi. After the red-robed lady left, Ning Fan suddenly leaped into the icy lake. The lake water was bone-piercingly cold. It made Ning Fan shiver uncontrollably as if he was being pricked by needles. The water of the lake contained the willpower left by the Lord of Tribulation intent. It turned into ice and eroded Ning Fan's Dao heart. Fortunately, Ning Fan was still carrying the Dao lock of immortal sovereign Zido's willpower. At this moment, the two types of willpower began to clash against each other. The willpower in the icy lake was constantly being weakened. The willpower of the purple lock on Ning Fan's back was also weakening bit by bit. After an unknown period of time, the purple lock on Ning Fan's back completely melted and collapsed. The willpower in the icy lake also dissipated completely. At the moment when the purple lock collapsed, Ning Fan's consciousness returned to his body and left the illusory realm. He opened his eyes beside the true illusion river. The heavenly Dao purple lock that was restraining him collapsed without any warning. The water of the true illusion river flowed in reverse at this moment. The immortal sovereign's willpower that was left in the river was disturbed by Ning Fan's action of breaking the lock. The willpower that was suppressing Ning Fan's body immediately loosened. Ning Fan seized the opportunity. His eyes flashed with green light. Without saying a word, he began to peel off the Dao illusion of the stone bridge. The process lasted for a whole day. After one day, Ning Fan had peeled off 1/3 of the Dao illusion of the stone bridge. 1/3 of the stone bridge had turned into a true bridge. After one day, the willpower of the true illusion river had already recovered to its original state. The pressure that was as heavy as a mountain pressed on Ning Fan's body once again, not allowing him to continue peeling off the Dao illusion. This young man has actually built 1/3 of the true bridge. Under the true illusion river, the river demon's eyes widened in shock. It was his first time seeing someone who could build 1/3 of the true bridge on the true illusion river. At first, he did not believe that someone could build a bridge on the true illusion river. However, at this moment, he had a hint of confidence in Ning Fan's ability. This young man might be able to set a precedent in the illusionary world and build a true bridge on the true illusion river. The water of the true illusion river had already returned to its original state. At the center of the river, the second purple-golden whirlpool slowly appeared. Suddenly, a purple-golden palm imprint flew out from the whirlpool and slammed heavily at Ning Fan. The power of the palm imprint was already infinitely close to the void-rending strike. Moreover, within that palm imprint was a willpower that was above everything. It would not allow anyone to go against it. Ordinary cultivators would naturally find it difficult to resist the palm imprint, let alone the willpower contained within it. However, Ning Fan had gone through 5 million years of bitter cultivation in the illusory realm and continued doing the same stupid act. His willpower was already indestructible. With his current strength, it was not impossible for him to block the void-rending palm imprint. Rain Yin Yang, unseal. Battle Yin Yang, unseal. Ning Fan performed a hand seal with all 10 of his fingers. His aura force instantly reached the peak of the Duzhen realm. The initial completion of the Rain Yin Yang gave Ning Fan the ability to control the rain of heaven and earth. The initial completion of the battle Yin Yang gave Ning Fan the ability to control the battle intent of heaven and earth. At the moment when Ning Fan unsealed the battle Yin Yang, the river demon's expression suddenly changed. He clearly felt that some kind of power in his body had disappeared out of nowhere. Upon closer inspection, he realized that he did not lose any of his power. What he did not know was that the power that disappeared was called battle intent. It had been seized by Ning Fan. It was the weakening of the willpower. Of course, he did not understand it. That palm imprint originally contained the willpower left behind by the immortal sovereign. However, as Ning Fan unsealed the battle yin yang, the willpower in the palm imprint was also weakened. Ning Fan turned his hand and sent a palm strike at the purple golden palm imprint. When the two palms collided, Ning Fan was immediately sent flying like a kite with a broken string. He spurted out blood and was sent flying. As for the purple golden palm imprint, it completely collapsed. As soon as the palm imprint was destroyed, billowing illusory mist immediately rolled towards Ning Fan. Ning Fan's expression changed slightly. He tried to avoid the mist, but he was still a step too late. The mist invaded his mind. Second illusion. Within the mist, an indifferent voice that was like the great Tao resounded. It was the voice of the heavenly Tao itself. As soon as the voice fell, Ning Fan lost control of his mind once again and was trapped in the illusory realm of his mind. What entered his eyes was still the ancient and desolate world. However, this time, Ning Fan was not a barbarian bull but a barbarian fish. He was a barbarian fish that was kept in the Grand Firmament Tribulation Pond. In the Tribulation Pond, he was not the only barbarian fish. There were thousands of other barbarian fish. All of them had purple golden scales. Layers of restrictions were set up in the Tribulation Pond to prevent any barbarian fish from escaping. At the bank of the pond, 10 or so Tribulation envoys were guarding the pond. Each of them had a cultivation base above the Crossing Truth Realm. Hee. The barbarian fish clan sure has the guts to offend the Tribulation venerables of the upper world. I'm afraid they won't be able to live for long. The formation of the Tribulation Pond will kill thousands of barbarian fish every day and offer their souls to the Tribulation venerables of the upper world for them to enjoy. I heard that the souls of barbarian fish are extremely delicious. Unfortunately, our status is too low and we don't have the chance to enjoy them. The words of the Tribulation envoys were heard by countless barbarian fish who had a blank expression on their faces. The barbarian fish in the pond had already succumbed to their fate. They had long forgotten how to resist. The grand formation of the Tribulation Pond would kill thousands of barbarian fish every day. Even though there were many barbarian fish in the pond, they would all be eliminated one day. In order to survive, the only way was to escape from the grand formation of the Tribulation Pond. There were many barbarian fish who tried to escape from the formation, but none of them could break the formation's light. All of the barbarian fish who tried to escape were already dead. Now, no barbarian fish dared to escape from the formation. All of them were struggling to survive. The barbarian fish that Ning Fan had transformed into was also trapped in the Tribulation Pond. Unlike the other barbarian fish, Ning Fan was naturally unwilling to wait for death in the pond. Even though transforming into a barbarian fish was just an illusion, Ning Fan's main body would also be implicated if his fish body dies in the illusion. Ning Fan tried to break free from the illusion as soon as he entered it. If he wants to return to his body, he must break free from the blood pond. Am I trapped by the illusion again? Last time, I broke free from the purple lock and disrupted the will of the true illusion river. I seized the opportunity to strip away 1/3 of the Tao illusion. This time, if I can break free again, I might be able to disrupt the will of the river again. The thing that imprisons my mind is this grand formation of the Tribulation Pond. If I break this formation, I will be able to break free.